morning in YouTube land. Welcome to the program. I am Tom Connors. With me is the boss man, Andre. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Greetings, everyone. So glad to be here with you all.
Yes, and happy. It's a holiday for you there. And they just said what it was, and I totally.
Well, it's a little bit more than that. It's our Constitution
Day. Yeah, I was trying to think of the word, and I'm like, it was in my brain a second ago.
Yeah,
so happy Constitution Day, or
it's
however you say it.
The closest equivalent would be the 4th of July to American viewers.
Oh, so you can have some burgers.
Well, I've had some sausages, but
that's the same. That works.
Yeah, close enough.
Close enough. Mikey is here as well for once. How you doing, Mikey? He's back off of his vacation or travels. How are you been?
Yes, I've been on vacation for 6 days since started last Thursday. Today is my vacation day from the vacay day. I am back home with suitcases full. The rabbit chickens are hungry. They need their feeding. And so that house looks exactly like my house. It is so
weird.
It
is your house.
That is so weird. But thank
it's
you
the
both
Mexican
for having
Iron
me.
House.
Happy Constitution Day, Andre.
Thank you.
Happy to be here and talk about whatever we're going to talk about, like Disney and stuff.
Yeah. And also joining us, Mr. Culture Casino with his mane of hair. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. I made a proper fool of myself on my 6-minute daily because I was muted for like 30 seconds to a minute.
Well, it happens.
But I had a lot of fun, and so did the audience, which is the whole point. So, but I'm glad to be here. We have some subjects. It'll be quite interesting.
Yes, indeed. Let's say hello to the people in the chat. We got some super chats already. We got Waltman sending in $9.99. He says, we had MI7 Part 1, Haunted Mansion, and Five Nights at Freddy's trailer out, and I haven't watched a single one of them.
Oh, wow.
Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's looks amazing. The animatronics and pizzeria look exactly like the game. Bravo, Jim Henson's Creature Shop. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you watched the Mission Impossible trailer.
Yeah, I watched Freddy's
like 6 times.
I thought it looked okay. I did. It wasn't 6 times. I watched it a couple of times.
5.
I watched it a few times. Calm down. It was. I'm looking forward to Dead Reckoning Part 1. So you don't have to, Tom.
I just haven't seen any since Part 2. I'm after the second one.
I love Mission Impossible. It is literally like I literally watch it.
Okay, so you watched it too this morning, the trailer, or no?
Yes, I've seen everything, and I even watched behind the scenes interviews and past stuff, the new stuff. I cannot wait till it comes out. I'm gonna go see it, and it's gonna be awesome because Tom Cruise is amazing, and we're gonna guess the box offices, and he's going to over deliver as per usual. Yep.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it does another Top Gun.
Yeah, I don't know about doing Top Gun, but
all I'm going to do, I'm definitely wearing my Tom shirt to the film, so I'll be in my Tom t-shirt.
We can get our 10th iteration of the theme song here.
I think
I hope it does well. Haunted Mansion, I saw the cast poster, but I didn't see the trailer. They're really trying again, huh? Because this is like their 3rd attempt at this. Because they did like a Disney Channel movie, I think, and then they did the Eddie Murphy one. And now this one here. So, I don't know. We're going to talk about Disney, though. We're going to talk about them. So we'll get to that. Then we got Arcane Stork, who says, after its delay, The Marvels is now stuffed between Dune 2 and Hunger Games prequel. Will it beat them at the box office, or will they win instead? Well, it's a good question, and this kind of leads into our topics of the day. I think The Marvels is in trouble. What do you think, guys? Mikey, let's start with you. Do you have any interest in the Marvels? Do you think it's going to do well?
I don't have any interest in anything Marvel, period. I didn't even see Guardians 3. I'm not going to see it. They started to, they really lost me at Doctor Strange. And Wakanda Forever, we all know how that went for me. And reflecting back on Doctor Strange and Wakanda Forever, that's it. I will not watch another Marvel movie again. I believe that franchise is dead. I don't think it is ever coming back. I think that is $5 billion or $4 billion that they spent to buy something. Whatever they got out of it. And there is no way that the Marvel universe is coming back strong, even if they correct all their ESG crap, because the statistical odds of that happening are 0-0, which means 0.
You heard it here, folks. First,
They can't.
Marvel
They're
Universe
not. It's
probably dead.
Let's just say they wanted a whole new Avengers crew, and they properly
Sorry, I've been
cast
watching
it,
too much SNL.
and they properly cast it, and all this other stuff that we hope happens. It's not going to happen. The statistical odds of catching that magic in a bottle and it to be released on the world is never happening again. Take what you got, enjoy it, go rewatch the phases you liked, but your cinematic universe is dead as far as Marvel's. Do I think that? And then some people argue back with me.
Yeah.
I got a heated argument. They're like, well, they haven't done Fantastic Four and they could redo X-Men. You really think they're going to do Fantastic Four right? Does anyone actually think they're going to do, forget the event, redoing the Avengers right? Does anyone actually think that they're going to do X-Men right or the Fantastic Four right? No, there's no way it's happening.
I'd be shocked if they were to get either of the two right.
Because, Andre, those are the two best, and probably they're simultaneously the most difficult to get right. They're also the easiest to get right. And one thing we learned about Hollywood is that they simultaneously can't just do a simple, like they're simultaneously easy to nail. They're very easy to nail. There's a ton of books, ton of comic book runs that would be easy to nail. And I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. I love the Fantastic Four. I always have. If they were going to nail X-Men or Fantastic Four, it's super easy to do, but they don't like easy. They like complicating crap. And then if they really try to really do it right, they're just going to miss the boat and they're going to screw those things up. It is not happening. There's just no way, especially in a corporatized environment, Andre.
I'm afraid that you are probably right, because the best Fantastic Four movie is probably the unreleased Roger Corman movie that you can find bootlegs of, because that got the tone kind of right, and it had like a certain fidelity of the characters that I don't see them doing again, because you'd have to fire everyone at Marvel more or less and start over. Like all of the architects of the good Marvel movies, they're mostly gone now. Yeah, Kevin Feige is still there, but the team that worked with him to make those things take off, they're not there anymore. So can he do it on his own? I have about as much faith in that as that George Lucas could do the prequel trilogy without the people that made the original trilogy special. It's a group effort, and the group ain't there. The group is scattered across all winds. So I think you're right. And then when you look at the properties, when you look at like how the kind of like social messaging which was inherent in the original stories, and then are they going to resist the temptation not to muck too much with that for modern audiences in a modern adaptation? No way. I think you're right. I think that X-Men and Fantastic Four, they had the potential to be the saviors, but in the hands of modern Marvel, they're going to be the ultimate destroyers.
Culture, what say you quickly? And because I basically, yeah.
I have very low expectations for Dune 2. I think the Marvels is going to be craptastic. It's going to underdeliver, and it's going to overperform on my channel because I'm going to be talking about it nonstop. I don't care about the Hunger Games. There's not a lot that I'm crazy excited about as far as what's going to drive the box office. I think probably of the choices on the screen, it'll be Dune 2. And I'm with Mike. I think they have a lot of properties they haven't leaned into, and they're not going to. And the ones that, and the way that they lean into the ones that they are leaning into, like Fantastic Four or whatever else, it's going to be full of agenda that's going to, continue to give them diminished returns. There's that.
Yeah. No, I pretty much agree with all of what you guys are saying. Dune 2 is the only one that I think has potential. Hunger Games prequel, I don't see any buzz for it. I remember seeing the trailer during Guardians of the Galaxy, and it didn't really get any reaction. In fact, the only trailer that really got a reaction that I recall was The Flash, believe it or not. The Marvels trailer didn't even get a reaction at all. Yeah, I don't see the Marvels doing that well. I'm sure they stuffed it in between there for a reason. They'll use every excuse in the book for its underperformance. And at the end of the day, I mean, unless Brie can really help her her image in the next few months here, I don't see this changing at all. Not only that, I just don't see any like buzz for this movie. Like I said, Although she did kind of dance around a Johnny Depp question at Cannes yesterday. I don't know. It kind of seemed like she was more upset that the question wasn't about her. I don't know if you guys saw that response, but
I did.
But anyway, yeah, unless she does a bunch more like that, I don't see anybody really caring for her at this point. Andre,
Well,
anything else on it?
If she knocks on my door, I'm not going to tell her she doesn't have a place to stay over.
Well, of course you wouldn't.
Just saying.
You wouldn't kick her out of bed right away.
That's how I would show my support for Captain Marvel.
There you go. And
Andre, do you plan to see it? Are you going to see it?
Only because I have to review it. But for my own enjoyment, no. Hell no. I mean, I was really, really happy with the Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3. I really tremendously enjoyed that one, much more than I hoped, or that I thought, that I feared. But the Marvels, I'll see it out of obligation so that I can give a fair review of it. And Lord knows, sometimes I surprise myself and everyone else with the kind of shit that I do enjoy, which I have no qualms about saying. But I'd be surprised if I were to find much enjoyment in this one. I think that trailer, because of the movie, is as good as the Marvels is going to get. But I see what they're doing. Like, you noticed how they killed off Miss Marvel in the comics right now? How much do you want to bet that she'll be revived just in time for the movie?
Yeah, they do
potentially.
That a lot.
Yeah,
they do that. They're under some kind of delusion in that studio that fans of comic book Marvel characters, that we're consuming all the media, like we're all into, like, oh my god, the comic books, oh my goodness gracious, the TV shows, oh wow, the movie. Their efforts to implement that plan were doomed from the start.
well, sooner or later they're gonna have to. Oh, go ahead, Andre.
I'm sorry, I just want to say, like, I love it when you have like these movies that no one cares about, and then you have the industry trades that write about how excited the fans are for these movies that fans couldn't care less about or actively don't want to see.
Right.
Well, and the other side of it too is basically like, I mean, they're going to have to realize sooner or later, because it's not going to be too long before Guardians of the Galaxy 3 outgrosses Ant-Man, right? And they're going to realize, crap, there's more people going to this than went to see Ant-Man. People aren't going in and they're not watching these shows. They know they're not. And I do believe you're right. Like, this whole thing of killing her in the comics is just a publicity ploy. Just like part of the reason they probably pushed it back had less to do with any reconfiguring of the movie. More so, they're probably going to try and push and get more people to watch Miss Marvel on Disney Plus before going to the theater. I mean, at the time, though, thinking about it, like, it would have really stuffed this early part of the year with Marvel stuff. Let's be real. Because we got a ton of it coming up here before the year's out too. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. So we're going to move on from there, unless there's anything else you guys had to add to this. I think Marvel's is DOA at this point.
At least we'll have a good time doing the post-mortem to it.
If you think I'm going to see it, then I don't really plan on it.
No, I would never ask you to do that.
Well, you've asked me to see some stupid shit in the past.
Yeah, I know, but that kind of suffering, I don't ask anyone else to do. That's like, you don't have to see it for me to do a post-mortem.
No. But at the same time, it's just about, like...
Given how difficult it is for you to actually get out and go to the movies with all your commitments, your time, and how far away the theater is, if the movie's not great, if I were Tom, you would have to be, like, real mad afterwards. Like, right?
Well, and that's part of my problem lately is, the wasting of the time, the effort to go see some of these movies, especially when they're 2+ hours. I mean...
Did you and how are you going to go see Miss Marvel's? You never even saw the TV series,
No.
Miss Marvel. So you're not even going to know what's going on. So then you'll be.
You know what? There's a funny thing. Neither will I, and I'm not going to. And like I haven't seen Miss Marvel, and I'm not doing that homework just to see this. So I will also going in not having seen everything, and that's going to be part of my verdict. How welcoming is this movie for those that saw Captain Marvel but couldn't be asked to see Miss Marvel? How welcome will we feel in this movie?
Oh,
That'll be interesting.
I think you guys are going to be lost, but we'll see.
Really, because
Probably.
here's the thing. Nobody saw, or very few people saw, the Miss Marvel show.
That's
I
exactly
saw
right.
it. I saw it.
Okay, great, but you are one of the few. Congratulations. My point is nobody's going to have any background on this character going in there, absent the precious few that viewed it. So if this turns out to
All
be a
7
movie,
of them.
right, well, if it turns out if this is a homework movie, it's going to get all kinds of bad reviews. I mean, to be fair, Disney needs to get away from the idea of having to give their audiences homework. I agree with everything you guys have said. So,
Because that was like the big issue, or no, it wasn't the big, but it was one of the issues with Doctor Strange and the
Yeah.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Only upon walking into that movie did we know that, oh, we actually had homework here, and it wasn't see the first Doctor Strange. No, it was see WandaVision. I had no idea that was going to be homework. It was kind
Neither
of
did
like
the writers, Andre, from what we heard,
no,
I guess.
it was kind of like an unannounced test. Like, oh, okay, here we are. Now, here's your test. Have you seen WandaVision? And the writers evidently hadn't, so it was extra naughty of them to expect that we would have.
I'm curious to see how you're going to react to her personality in this movie, but we'll see. All right, I'm sorry to hold up the topic. Next topic. Oh,
And the next one is from Callum Lyle, who says for $5 that Aladdin actor has proven my theory of activist and modern diversity, which is all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Very nice quote right there. You've read your Animal Farm, I see. Cultured. Do you know what Callum is talking about here? Would you like to get everyone up to speed with what this particular super chat is referencing?
Well, from my understanding, and again, I'm not an expert on this at all, but this actor actually came out and said that essentially that the new Mermaid film isn't going to make as much money as his film. And he's probably not wrong. He says it's not going to make $1 billion. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but and of course the woke gang, the crowd came after him and essentially pushed him off of Twitter. Now he's a minority.
He was actually responding to a question, but yeah.
Exactly. And thank you, Tom, for the context. But I mean, he's a minority, and obviously she's a minority. But in the minority hierarchy, or the minority Olympics, if you want to call it that, or the diversity Olympics,
Victim Olympics, whatever.
Yeah, there you go. That too. Same thing. It's all the same thing. He's obviously lower rung on the totem pole, being male. So, it's just she's
basically he was forced to remove said tweet or response, and also I guess his
he ran away from Twitter. I mean,
Twitter has been shut down or whatever.
Yeah.
So
all animals.
There was a little shade in it. Okay, I will say this: there was a little shade in his response.
Yeah, well, he was entitled to it. He's 100% correct.
For those who may not,
I agree.
I'll paraphrase real quick. I'll paraphrase real quick what was said.
Yeah.
It was asked of him that do they think that does he think that Little Mermaid will make $1 billion like Aladdin and The Lion King and all the others? And his response was, a lot of people went to see our movie multiple times, considering the opening, which I mean he's implying it had a softer opening than some of the other films did, but it had longer legs. And his response was, I don't think Little Mermaid will accomplish that. Just the same, I'm sure it will get a sequel, even though we didn't. So there was the shade, if you caught that.
Yeah.
And Andre, you actually enjoyed the movie. So again, you were about to respond there.
I did enjoy Aladdin. I mean, as far as live action remakes go, it doesn't get better than that one. I thought it was well cast. It was well acted. He was good. everyone was good. Jafar was really good. I would not have minded a sequel to that one at all. I mean, yeah, of course, the original animated classic is the classic. But if you have to remake it, it can't be done much better than that. And in the response to this tweet, because of course, like, he was shellacked absolutely by the stands for the new Little Mermaid, Haley, whatever her name is. And they were like, you're just jealous because you were in $1 billion movie and you didn't get any more offers. And I was like thinking, yeah, that's pretty nasty, actually. Not of him, but of Hollywood, because here he was one of the lead faces in this huge movie, and he wasn't offered any more roles, or at least not that we know of. We haven't seen him in anything like more high profile, which I think is a little bit like unfair, because he did well. He did well in that role. And here he now sees someone else in another movie just like his, a remake from the same basic era, being treated as like this supermassive star, while he was just forgotten instantly. So I do get that he's a little bit resentful at that. I don't blame him for that.
Yeah, I mean, it already seemed like a foregone conclusion that the Aladdin film would have got a sequel, but I think he's kind of implying that there isn't going to be one, or there has been zero movement on it, or at least he's under the impression there won't be. But he's implying that this one will get one no matter what. And, you know, in the Impression Olympics, these kind of things are going to happen. So I just kick back, grab my popcorn, and go, let's watch. See what happens.
Why would they want to go after Aladdin from a global or US cultural mythos standpoint when the easy target and the more, how should I say, incendiary target would be a white redhead girl, fish, whatever, mermaid, white redhead, and race swap that? I mean, what are they going to do with Aladdin that would be so newsworthy or noteworthy from a ESG point of view?
Yeah, because that's like the thing, that it was a fair adaptation of what was already there.
Right.
If anything, I was surprised at how much white representation there was. There was far more white representation in the movie version than it was in the animated series, or in the animated original, and no one cared.
Right.
Because it was authentic to the story. It showed like the demographics of the local area. This one, the live action remake, didn't. But again, as you said right there was no stunt casting. There was no fan baiting. There was like, here we really did something for diversity by taking this white redhead and taking her away from little white redhead girls and giving her to little black girls instead. So you don't get like that virtue signal. And of course, that could be part of it. It's like, oh yeah, people really enjoyed our Aladdin remake. Everyone loved it. How disappointing.
And they did actually announce a sequel right after the film came out. But I think you can kind of read between the lines of this actor's statements in that it clearly hit a few speed bumps. And I'm sure those speed bumps include COVID, Will Smith, and Will Smith. So, I mean, take your pick there on which one kind of got in the way of the sequel at this point. But I think it probably has been dead in the water ever since. Is what he's implying here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right.
Maybe it didn't do as well on. I brought this up yesterday on Mr. H's stream too. I'm like, maybe it didn't do as well on video sales and video on demand sales and other things after the fact. And that may have factored into them going, maybe we'll hold off on a sequel. Maybe. But under any other circumstances, it seems like they haven't had any problems announcing and going through with most of these sequels, even like things like Cruella, which by all standards basically bombed. So I wouldn't count an Aladdin 2 out yet, but the fact that he's throwing that kind of shade and said something like that really tells me the studio has stepped back from Aladdin 2.
I think so too. If it was going to happen, it would have happened already.
Yeah, or at least they would have moved a little bit farther forward on it. But
exactly.
to be honest, I think the biggest problem was Will Smith and that slap at the Oscars really kind of killed any momentum it might have had.
I think that killed a lot of different Will Smith projects.
Yeah, because Bad Boys 4 is the only one that we've been hearing has any current movement on it, really. And his last movie, didn't he have a movie that just came out here not too long ago and that bombed at the box office? That Emancipation one or whatever. I can't remember now. I thought he had, anyway. But moving on from there, yeah. That was an interesting topic of the day yesterday, I believe we were talking about it. Dr. Longdongler sent us in a super sticker. Thank you so very much. And it looks like it is a thumbs up. If you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, please hit it. We'd appreciate that. We got Mephisto's Ruby Reviews in the house. How you doing? Sending in 30. Is that Indian rupees?
I believe so.
Yes. Shameless Shilling. I'll be celebrating 2 years of shows and 100 episodes this Saturday, covering Shaun of the Dead with Jacob from Society Reviews. Well, that's awesome. Both Andre and I think Culture has also been on there as well. We got to get Mikey on one of those shows. It's fun. So thank you so much. And then what's your first thought? Says, I heard KK is mentoring Dave Filoni. I didn't think you needed mentor for pegging. Ooh.
Whoa.
Oh, well. I wonder if she will wear his hat while she's mentoring him. Yeah, that's we kind of saw a bit of I guess could you call it an update?
Well,
Andre?
I don't know what you would call it, other than it's definitely not good news. This news item about Dave Filoni basically talking about what a mentor Kathleen Kennedy had been to him when he asked her with casting and everything. How do you know when you have the right person? And Kathleen Kennedy, ever experienced maker of coffee for actual producers and directors who had seen actual talent work. She could just relay as if it was her experience. When it works, you just know. I know because Steven Spielberg told me. So,
I was actually asking about the No Time to Shine tweet.
Oh, yesterday. That too.
Which we had reported on a month ago. So even though it's still technically rumor, we have yet another person adding to this fire. That adds like between us and, I don't know, at least a half a dozen others now, isn't it, who have heard this same thing about Favreau basically being out the door and Dave Filoni being the man in command?
Yeah, and I want further confirmation, but I will say, as I said in the previous video where we covered this, it's not looking good. It really, really isn't looking good, because the hope for Star Wars rests on Jon Favreau being in the building. As long as he is in the building, we always have the hope that Bob Iger is going to fire enough activists in doing the savings, and then we can always hope that the balance of power shifts back to Favreau and that he can do exactly what he wants going forward. But if Favreau were to outright leave, and then you have Filoni left, why would he do anything against his mentor, Kathleen Kennedy's wishes? Why would he do anything to backstab her unless Favreau is there for the long run?
And let's not forget the obvious, which is Favreau is a contractor.
That
Filoni
too.
is a employee and an executive. God, I mean, people.
Not only that, at this point,
people don't understand that part of that. Well, Filoni and Favreau and this and that. Favreau's a contractor, people. He is his company is contracted to produce work for Lucasfilm. He's not an exec. He does not hold a title in the organization management tree in the org chart. He is not an employee. He doesn't get a W-2 that way like he would. It's not like he's in line. So yes, if he's out the door, all hope is lost. But frankly, he's not even part of the management structure. Filoni is.
That's what I was just going to ask, Mikey, because with his new title he got now, like roughly a year and a half or whatever it was ago, or 2 years ago now, almost. Basically, when all this shit went to hell, he got a brand new title. And last I knew, didn't that basically make him the person underneath Kathleen Kennedy at that point?
Creatively speaking, absolute.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was head of creative at that point. Yeah.
Yep. I can't wait
Nah,
to see.
I tried to
can't wait
warn
to see
people,
what kind
but-
of lightsaber princesses Dave is going to come up with next, because that's all he knows how to do is come up with beta beep, beep. I got to beat myself, Andrew, so I'll ruin your show. Because he himself is a beta. Beat me, Tom. Beta B. There you go. And if you're a beta, Tom, go. B. Then the only thing you know how to create is biatch characters. There you go. And cancel.
Yeah, Filoni is not your friend. That's what I kept trying to tell people.
Filoni.
He's playing the long game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Favreau's in the same place he was after Iron Man 2. Go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Because Mike, of course, is right. Favreau is a contractor, but he's a contractor whose presence really is the last hope for Star Wars, because he's the only one in Lucasfilm, at least that we on the outside have seen, that seems to get it. And just look at it, like any Star Wars made in the past 10 years that didn't involve Favreau in some capacity, how good was it? I'd argue that most of it wasn't very good at all. Whereas what he is behind, certainly when he was like unshackled by anyone, so ignore Mandalorian Season 3, ignore Boba Fett, because he didn't have the full freedom on those. He was thwarted on Boba Fett, and because of that, Season 3 of Mando was compromised. So if that contractor is no longer in the building, and the only ones who remain are the actual employees whose job it's supposed to be to make this good, so that people will keep on watching it, well, then that's all she wrote for Star Wars. Because
well, and we also
can get this right, get fans back again.
To back it up there a second, Andre, she also messed up Book of Boba Fett, from what it sounds like, because that's where everything began. Because we learned, obviously, that, or at least we heard, and this is, take it with a grain of salt, I guess, because it's still technically a rumor. I don't know if anybody's confirmed it yet, about the whole, she forced the hand of having Baby Yoda and Luke being in there, because she's like, if you don't get him back together, he's not coming back, because we're not having these endless cameos of Luke. In fact, that thing, the other side of that is, I think was confirmed, is that there was a Luke cameo that was cut. So, yeah. We will have to see how that pans out here. But I see Michael of Retro Blasting in the chat. We're going to send him the link, because there was a Indiana Jones clip we can talk about if he wants to. He's available. How you doing, Michael? No pressure, my friend, but we were going to talk about that at some point this week. No time's better than now, since our other guest, sadly, I think passed out. That's okay. It's like midnight where he is, so we'll take that.
So it's not 1 a.m. there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not 1 a.m. So I'm thinking we lost. Yeah, we're pinging him again, but I think we lost our shot with him. I think he passed out on us. So that's all right. It happens sometimes. But we'll get to that momentarily. Then we got Professor Haitian, who says Marvel will go on hiatus after the Marvels. Maybe. It will technically be going on hiatus because of the writer's strike. There is a few projects, that should be out between then, now, and a little after, because isn't the Samuel Jackson Secret Wars thing, isn't that? Or not Secret Wars, Secret Wars is the Avenger movie. What is the one that Samuel Jackson's doing?
He's doing not Secret War, but Secret Invasion.
That's what I was trying to think. Secret Invasion,
Secret Invasion, yeah.
When does that one come out? Because that's not this year, is it?
I think it was supposed to be.
But see, that wasn't, I don't think, in the upfronts, which we're about to get to here in just a moment. But yeah, I mean, as far as a hiatus, I think they would be better off if they did. but I don't know if they will. With that, we also have Strike, Burn It All Down, who asks thoughts on dumping of Echo on one day. Well, that's probably a good place to just jump right into this Disney upfront business, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, let's do that. So there was this thing called the upfronts where Disney talked about all the stuff they've got coming out here. And of course, it's affected by the strike, as just about everything is in Hollywood right now. Okay, and Secret Invasion comes out next month, I'm being told.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be fairly soon here.
Okay, so that one's sooner. I thought that was later. That was my fault. But Disney has pegged total cash content spending around $30 billion for this year. But the ongoing Writers Guild of America strike may drive that down, CFO Christine McCarthy said. If you haven't noticed, we're in the middle of a writer's strike, McCarthy said, speaking Wednesday at Moffett-Nathanson's Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference in New York. The WGA walkout may reduce Disney's cash spending on content for the balance of the year, she said. At the Moffett-Nash conference, McCarthy appeared alongside Disney president of ad sales, Rita Farrow. The two Disney execs spoke a day after the media conglomerate's upfront presentation in the Big Apple to ad buyers and brands, which was noticeably light in scripted affair. Given the writer's strike, Marvel's Kevin Feige previewed upcoming Disney Plus series Secret Invasion, featuring Samuel Jackson and Don Cheadle, and announced premiere dates for Loki Season 2 and Hawkeye spinoff Echo. Disney already has been in the midst of a company-wide cost-cutting initiative with CEO Bob Iger focused on trimming content spending, McCarthy said. Disney expects to take a write-down in June quarter of $1.5 to $1.8 billion from removing content from its streaming platforms. Culture, what does that mean in layman's terms?
I'm sorry, I missed entirely what you said.
I did a very wonderful job reading that 3 paragraphs without stumbling, but maybe 1.2 times.
I missed it entirely. I'm terribly sorry.
Okay. Disney has been in the midst of a company-wide cost-cutting initiative with CEO Bob Iger focused on trimming content spending, McCarthy said. Disney expects to take a write-down in the June quarter of $1.5 billion to $1.8 billion from removing content from its streaming platforms. I was wondering if you could translate that for the layman's in the audience.
There's two parts that this could be. One, we got a bunch of junk we got to get rid of, and we can take a tax. We can shelter ourselves with taxes. But really, what this is we've got to move content at the same time, and I don't think it's referenced in this article. They're actually distributing content now to other streaming platforms that was a no before, so they're removing the wall from their garden. I'm sure
I don't know if anybody remembers me. I can't remember if I brought up on the morning show or another show where basically I talked. Yeah, it was a morning show because I remember Paul was here, I think.
Yeah,
where I had said that I've started to notice other studios' content showing up on each other's streamers.
Yep. Yeah,
and I think this is going to be more prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're gonna start to see that. But anytime, I mean, Mike, this.
Let me jump in.
I was going to say,
please.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to focus on this sentence here. I'm going to reread it.
He's paying attention, Culture.
I'm sorry. You went to me knowing full well Mike's the tax guy.
Oh, I was trying to get your side of it first. Okay.
Oh.
I still love you.
I'm not even a YouTuber. Like, I'm just here for backup because Paul Chato isn't here and for diversity for Andre. So.
He's a YouTuber, but we love him.
I saw Andre's ESG video. I'm like, gee, I better show up this week. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that one.
Oh, my God. That video was amazing, Andre. That video, I hope we're getting good views on it because
400,000 and counting.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's so great. That is the most informative thing on what is happening from a corporate, global, culture, human.
If I can take a moment, Mike, of all the videos that we've ever done, Andre, that's the one that I think I've gotten the most just out of the blue messages about ever.
It's the engagement is through the roof.
Yeah,
on that one, but yeah.
Oh,
sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to focus on this sentence here. This is really important when we're talking about Disney. All right, everybody in the live chat, focus. Here we go.
Okay, this will be on the test.
I'm now paying attention, Mike. Go.
Okay. Disney already has been in the midst of a company-wide cost-cutting initiative with CEO Bob Iger focused on trimming content spending, McCarthy said. Now, here we go. Disney expects to take a write-down in the June quarter of 1.5 to 1.8 billion from removing content from its streaming platforms. What does that mean? Let me explain to you. So they have this content that's on Disney Plus. They now are basically going to say, we're going to remove that content, and the value of what we think it's worth is 1.5 to 1.8 billion so that we can have a tax deduction.
Yes.
So they're basically saying that they have such little faith that anyone is going to watch this. Now we know that from year to date up to now, Culture, this you can correct me on. I believe that our cumulative loss on Disney Plus spending, I think we're at 12.5 billion so far, right? In the loss.
I think you're right in there. Yeah, I think,
okay.
And yeah.
So,
I mean,
so ladies and gentlemen, keeping score at home, if you're rooting for Disney, your team is down 12.5 billion runs in your baseball game of Disney Plus. Okay?
Yeah. When you add everything in, when you add it all in,
what they're saying is that instead of leaving all of the stuff that they've spent money on out there, they're basically going to say, we know no one's going to watch it. No one is watching it. So we're going to remove it from the platform, and we think it's worth about 1.5 to 1.8 billion, and we're just going to take the L. So this day, Variety is reporting that Disney has just decided to admit failure and defeat, and it's going to take a 1.5 to 1.8 billion dollar loss on shit that it put on its own platform.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what Disney Plus is. That's flushing money down the drain, as is the entirety of the streaming wars.
Yeah,
it's done, kids, and that's going to lead into our other topics too. But okay, so
how did I do, Tom? You get that?
You did. You got an A.
And that was fantastic. A+.
And this is something I talked about in the video that released yesterday, which is basically we're hitting the reset button as far as streaming goes. That's what's happening. All the streaming services are hitting the reset button, realizing that maintaining their walled gardens is stupid.
Yeah. Well, and you brought it up best, Andre, with the streaming war basically being a format war. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, exactly. And also what I believe that they're beginning to realize is that not only do they remove like the fences from their gardens, they're starting to realize, shit, we have too many gardens. They should
too many formats.
It should just have been like one massive park for everyone to enjoy, where they all could make money, and the name of that park should have been Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And that's what I was getting at, is like they've decided each to have their own proprietary format, basically. And at the end of the day, we're just going to see them all recycling each other's shit. Yeah. I just heard that. I mean, I've got a massive update on Star Trek, which we're going to get to eventually. But
I got another funny aspect to this story that I want to throw in there. Andre, as a financial person yourself, and Culture and Tom as watchers of Hollywood as you are, I have a question. If this is coming up today, why didn't this come up before the last investor earnings call?
Because that would have been tremendously embarrassing for them. You don't admit stuff like this in an investor call. You do it shortly afterwards so that they all can get used to it by the time of the next investor call. So it's kind of like the same thing with politicians that have like these massive projects that end up failing. They'd rather not admit that those fail just before the election. They'd rather wait until shortly after it.
Can I suggest an addition to that, Mikey?
Yes,
okay. Also, Bob can't stop putting his foot in his mouth anytime he speaks to anybody. And he said recently that their efforts at producing original content did not drive subscriptions for Disney Plus. That will definitely be one of the things pointed at as evidence for the lawsuit they find themselves in this week.
Gosh, you guys are making it sound like Bob Iger would lie to me or not tell me. Are you guys telling me that I, as a Disney shareholder, that Bob wouldn't tell me everything I need to know, guys? What?
Well, and I don't know how much more this goes on and on and on. But I mean, this leads into the other stuff that we're going to talk about later. and also the they did bring up the shows that they are bringing out by the end of the year, including Echo, which will be dropping all at once. That was the big question. That's coming at the end of November, and Loki season 2, which will be dropping in October. But the difference is that we know Echo, all their episodes will be dropping at once, and that strikes me as strange in the middle of a writer's strike when they know they might have to pad out some of this entertainment. And that was the main question of the super chat here. So before we get deeper into their legal and financial woes, let's talk on that real quick. What do we feel the reasoning for dropping Echo all at once is? I think it's a pretty simple answer, but let's start with you, Culture. What do you think the reason is?
For Echo dropping all at once? Because it's crap. and I guarantee you that show won't be around very long. And I'm actually surprised it's not included with these write downs because they know how poor it's going to be.
I can answer why it's not included in the write downs.
Yeah, I can't answer.
I can.
Okay, go, please.
The answer for it, and this is something that we actually reported courtesy of Mikey Sutton years ago. And that is that there's a story here. Just like you have like a story that is told across the movies, you also have a story that is told across the Disney Plus series. Now, there's a story that began in Hawkeye. That's where we first got Kingpin. That's where we first got Echo introduced. And then that story continues in Echo, and then it continues from Echo in Daredevil. So Daredevil builds on Echo in order to dump Echo completely. They wouldn't just have to do a write-off on that. They would have to completely and utterly retool Daredevil, which they can't do now because of the strike, and reshoot that because it's a continuation of Echo.
I have one more thing to add. As someone who's watched a lot of this stuff in the past, no longer watching it now, but one thing that has come out incredibly over and over is that over time, they don't have the ability to create anticipatory endings to each episode. They have to drop this thing all at once if they want to get any kind of view hours or watch hours.
Why not just cut it into a fucking movie then? Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Because they, you know what, trying to get that, that's probably good advice, Tom, because getting someone
but I get where they want to stretch it out as long as they can.
They want to stretch it out as long as possible because getting someone to sit for the truth of the matter is getting someone to sit for 60 to 120 minutes is a lot easier than getting someone to commit to a series, let alone a bunch of episodes within a series. The thing is that having watched all of their offerings until I stopped watching them recently, but having watched all their offerings, I see a consistent pattern that regardless whether it's in Marvel or the Star Wars side or whatever, anything that comes out on Disney Plus does not have a high degree of anticipatory value when you finish one episode and want to see the next. I mean, take Andor, for example. I did see it, but I'm glad that when I did see it, I saw it all in a group. I didn't see it right as it came out and wait a week. I don't think I would have finished it had I done it. Now, in the case of the various Marvel series, it was a lot easier I think it's just a lot easier for them to, again, admit defeat in another way, which is that, hey, we don't have an anticipatory value out there amongst our fan base where they are anticipating a series coming out, where they're anticipating new episodes within that series coming out. So they've got to grab what they can when they can in order to show some kind of value. Because I think another reason they're dropping this is if you look at their sub counts, they need to start creating a case, which Culture talks about all the time. You guys talk about it all the time, Andre and Tom. They've got to start building a case for people to not cancel Disney Plus because there just really isn't a lot of reason to watch anything on that freaking streaming network. Am I here by myself? Hello?
No, you're not.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure my mic. I didn't hear anything. I was like, hello?
Yeah,
You're all talking.
Yeah,
I'm done. Sorry.
We're just listening in And stunned impressed.
I don't know. What do
with
you
how
think,
it was.
Andre? Do you think? I mean, do you guys think there's any? I just there's nothing burning or anticipatory about any of this stuff. Look, here's one for example, Andre. You just said that you don't have any desire to go watch Miss Marvel before you go see. I mean, you probably don't even want, like you said, you don't even want to see the Marvels, but you don't feel this burning desire to go and watch and do your homework in order to feel that you're part of a complete universe.
No, not
right?
anymore.
I don't feel that. There was a time that I did though. Coming out of Endgame, I still had.
Me too.
I had that feeling. I was like, when I heard the Loki show was announced, I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait. Oh my god, woo!
Yeah.
And I felt that way for the next 2 or 3 series, and then it just started to wane and die off.
I can tell you where it started wane for me. The very first one, WandaVision, because it was so god awful. I hated it. And unfortunately, it didn't get much better. I mean, honestly, so far of all of the Disney Plus series, I will say that the best one, the one that I have enjoyed the most, is actually Loki. And it wasn't very good at all.
I liked Hawkeye until the last episode, but
yeah, there you go. You see, there's some hedge with all of them.
Oh, 100%. And speaking of hedging, we have Jonas J. Campbell,
who's
here to help us.
I was in the back trimming the hedges, and we rode off on the horses. Oh, wait, the rode off on the women, and I'm not going to go there.
I was about to say, so yeah.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Doing well. We're in the midst of talking about the upfronts and Disney's financial and legal woes. So we're glad to have another a specialist to join us this morning. Good morning, Jonas. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Glad to be here. I had some work that wasn't going to require my ears working on thumbnails today, so I am glad to be able
Bad
to
news, Jonas. They're taking a $1.5 to $1.8 billion write-down on Disney Plus content. Are you shocked?
My big question, I'm gonna bet that's going to be on the 1.8 side. If this is a David Zaslav situation and there's a loss of content along with that, my question is, okay, their catalog content, I don't know that they can take an impairment on that. It has to be stuff that they have produced specifically for one of these platforms, right?
Yeah, it's stuff that Disney has produced for Disney Plus, and they're taking it off, and they're taking a $1.5 to $1.8 billion write-down. If that's not admitting defeat, and frankly, I think they've been wanting to do this, and they delayed the news, and frankly, that's fraudulent. As an investor and as a shareholder, you should have disclosed this to me before that last investor call. Is what I say.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a really good point.
Could we smell some more lawsuits out of this?
I mean, let me just tell you, I'm a Disney shareholder. I've disclosed that many times on every show. Okay, and have been for a long time. So it's not like I'm just sort of in and out of the market on this stuff. But I'm just reacting to you. I'm here on Midnight Edge as a guest. You guys are showing me this article. I didn't know that this was. I hadn't read this or seen this yet. So I'm just saying that me as a shareholder. I don't. If you're going to take down 1.5 to 1.8 billion dollars, just last week it was all, the parks are doing great, and don't worry about Disney Plus, and da. You think we're at May 17th, and they're in this article's in Variety saying that this is going to happen in June. You think they haven't been planning or thinking about this for months? The decision to write down almost $2 billion worth of content from your streaming service is not something you wake up to on May 15th and say, you know what we're going to do in 2 weeks? Let's just remove $1.8 billion worth of stuff and create a tax deduction.
Yeah. Mike, I have a question. I just offered a couple of minutes ago here, I offered up a reason why they would do this, that this is something that they may have known they were doing, but they just conveniently wait until after the earnings call, and then they say, we just thought about this right now in this moment, and then it's already priced in by the time of the next earnings call. What do you think about my suggested rationale that that's what they're doing here? Because I think that's what they're doing. I
think you're 100% on point. You're 100% point, and I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I'm pissed that they didn't disclose this crap. But I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, because I've seen this many times before, and I know exactly okay, here is something that we know, and we're just going to pretend that we didn't know or the decision wasn't made until after this earnings call or other really important things, so that we have like some deniability there. And then we're just gonna kind of like just drop it out of the blue, like, oh, this just happened.
And let me tell you how yeah, and they're just kicking the ball down the field, because let's remember something. They may have just done an earnings call on the last quarter, but we are in the middle of the next quarter. The quarter that they're in right now, today, it ends June, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. Yeah, it's about to end in 45 days. This company's so full of crap. Look at that investor lawsuit, which I don't know if you're going to talk about on this show, or if you already talked about it on the Monday show, but the investor lawsuit, this is the type of thing that I think they're pissed about. This is right at the core of the investor lawsuit, that where an investment fund, a retirement fund, is pissed off because they're like, Disney has these announcements about how good the streaming service is doing, how good it will do, and how well it will do, and when they're going to go, when they're finally going to be profitable. Well, you know what? Things are throttling up. Unless I'm mistaken, didn't I just hear which streaming service announced that they are actually going to make money recently? Who was that?
Peacock's pretty close.
Peacock, Max? Yeah, Peacock. That's right. It was the Peacock one. I mean, here Disney is with 10 to 12 billion in the hole, and they're about to write down 1.8 billion. I mean, this is at the heart of the lawsuit. This is an example of something that they must have known previously, but yet here's how their legal counsel has told them that they're getting away with it. This is what they do, Andre. And I'm going to go from my experience dealing with companies when you audit them, is that here's what they do. They're like, well, on that last earnings call, technically we didn't need to talk about it because we were only covering the earnings for what happened that quarter.
Exactly.
Technically, we don't really have to talk about everything that's happening since that quarter ended, because you know what, guys? Things could get better by the end of that next quarter. And you know what? There might be a little bad news today that we're going to lose 1.8 billion and write down this. But you know what? Things could be better. Let's go ahead and translate it into, let's just let our parks and entertainment cash cover up another gaping hole that we have in the company, where money's falling out of that bucket like it doesn't have a bottom of the bucket.
And the parks are in danger too. They are not safe in any area except.
But they think they are, Jonas. They think they are.
Yep, that's the thumbnail I'm working on for somebody right now.
Don't you think that Iger and them, that cash flow from those parks, especially, you got to remember, especially post-COVID, that cash is now flowing that it wasn't flowing before. Before it was only flowing out of Florida. Now it's flowing out of California and Anaheim, and it's flowing out of Orlando. And so they're like, cash is flowing. But they don't realize that funnel is going to start to, it starts with me this summer. I just before this call, I just talked to my my ex, Max's mom, and we've got the date set. In August, I'm going to be spending 10 days, and it's going to be all in Orlando and all at Universal and other parks, not one of which will be Disney. And I'm probably going to spend between $5,000 and $8,000 in a week. And I'm sure I'm not the only one doing this with my family.
Yeah, I just got back from a trip. I got to say, the Ron DeSantis fight right now is putting Disney in an awkward situation where they have to heavily publicize all their investments in foreign parks. And they don't want to announce too much going on in the Florida parks because they want to look like this is a thing that they're cagey about. Oh, are we going to continue to invest in the Golden Goose? This is the idea that Disney wants to put more money into these other parks because they won't get their return on their investment in Florida is ridiculous. The idea that they are going to stop investing when Epic Universe is coming around the bend, Super Nintendo World Orlando, for those of you who don't understand, which is also going to have a Harry Potter land. It sounds like that Universal is also going to be doing a Legend of Zelda land. There's probably going to be a How to Train Your Dragon rebrand with this $150 million budgeted live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon, and they're going to try to incorporate that there. There's some rumors that they might have the Lord of the Rings. That's completely rumors. That's not me knowing anything. If Disney wants to stop investing in Florida, it is at their own peril. I don't see anything going on in the Florida parks other than cloning of things that exist elsewhere. Disney's just they've lost a step, and they want to pretend like they're the big kids on the block. I don't know. I just don't see any of this going well for them over the next quarter. They're not going to turn anything around in one quarter.
No, and in those Florida parks, they're already losing market share to Universal. And as Jonas just pointed out, Epic Universe is going to be massive. You will actually be able to visit the Ministry of Magic in Epic Universe. You have the monsters, the classic Universal monsters are going to be featured, in that Epic Universe park. There is, and they have room to, well, they theoretically could end up with additional room to grow, but that's an entire rumor as well, because the defense contractor that's there may be relocating. But they also have a massive expansion. Universal's moving into this middle of the country in Texas. They're starting off small with a young person oriented park, much like Disney started small in Florida with Magic Kingdom. But you're going to see them move on there, and you're seeing the permanent installation of the Hollywood Horror Nights being placed in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Universal knows this stuff, and I don't know. What do you think about that, Jonas? Do you think that they're obviously they're not going to be comfortable losing more market share, but I think you're spot on when it comes to, Disney. It would be at their own peril if they did not continue to heavily invest there. And I agree with you. They took an off-the-shelf attraction from Shanghai to drop that Tron in there, and it took them how many years to build it? 6.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, Tron is ridiculous, and it's not even that good of a ride. I mean, It's an interesting. I think it Instagrams well, but it's over too quickly. It's a nice looking building to put on the Tomorrowland. That almost sounds like a really cool thing that Disney would have done in the 90s. I just got an email from Universal today announcing Minions Land. That is basically a rebrand of the front area of Universal Studios. There are so many things that they could cut out of those parks. There are so many things that they could replace on those parks. Universal right now is operating at a solid B, and they are eating Disney's lunch. Not all of their lunch, but if they can lunch. I skipped my lunch today to be here.
Say you're making me hungry.
I guarantee whatever's going in that Minions cafe is going to have bananas in it, or something that tastes like bananas. You just look at all the IPs they own. They're not doing anything with Shrek right now. They're not doing anything with Puss in Boots, and they've got areas that they could put those in the parks. They've just got this great stable of IPs that they could just insert in there and bring any more attention that they want to themselves. And what does Disney have? They got Strange World. They've already they've got Star Wars, I guess.
Well,
they screwed the pooch there.
They also have Indiana Jones, and somebody who's a huge Indiana Jones fan and one of the authorities on the matter, I would say, Mr. Michael of Retro Blasting. How are you doing?
I'm not bad. I don't know why you'd call me an authority on Indiana Jones.
I understand why.
I'm not sure why.
The world, I would ever do.
Anyway, see you guys.
So glad to have you back on the program. It's been way too long. Good to have you here.
Yeah, it's been way too long. I'm so glad to see you again, my friend. The
hat wears you well, sir.
It does indeed.
This is authentic Raiders right here. They finally cracked the code like 2 years ago. I've been in the Indiana Jones hardcore fan community for 30 years and followed all that stuff. Anyway, this isn't about my hat.
What do you think? I just have to ask, since you're the authority on Indiana Jones, do you know Zahi Hawass? He is the self-appointed real Indiana Jones, as opposed to the fake Harrison Ford Indiana Jones. For those that may be watching who don't know, Zahi Hawass, he's the head honcho of all Egyptologists. Mm-hmm. He's the gatekeeper of all things ancient Egypt. He's one of those that had a fit over Cleopatra. And he also has regular fits over Graham Hancock. But I think that his fit over Cleopatra may have been worse. What do you think about his Indiana Jones hats? His real ones.
He gets the crushable wool felt, Outback hats that you can get at. They look like gift shop hats from like Adventure Company and stuff. They're very mass produced looking field hats. They're not this. So and we don't even need to go into my attitude about Zahi Hawass's entire personality on especially Graham Hancock and everything else. He's been a roadblock to a lot of pivotal research and information that should have gotten out a long time ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have a video coming in a week and a half here, which I think you'll be interested in. But more on that later.
Yes, we'll definitely get into the Indiana Jones talk here sooner than later. But Jonas, again, we were talking about, I think you were in the middle of the Disney business with the parks. You guys were talking. Was there anything more you guys had to add to that, or should we move on to the next topic at hand?
No, I think it's just, as I said before, Disney is struggling in every single area except maybe cruise lines, where they do everything well, but also there's a limit to that market. Not everybody wants to get on confine themselves to a boat and rock on the ocean and not gamble, and apparently not drink too much on a Disney cruise.
Well, it's far too cost prohibitive to even try to consume mass quantities of alcohol. I mean, and that's how they try to keep it family friendly. But let me tell you, the area around the pools are sometimes not very family friendly on those cruises. But I think you're right, and I think your takeaway, Jonas, on the parks not necessarily being a forever cash cow is accurate. I think they've got a lot more at risk at Disney World than they even are starting to comprehend.
Oh, and you guys probably already covered this, but of course, Comcast and Hulu and all this means that Disney is going to have to pay Comcast $10 billion to ruin Hulu.
Minimum.
For them. Minimum. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, we know they're spending about $300 million or more to ruin Indiana Jones. So why don't we get to that topic, since we have Michael here, and it's kind of the only other thing that Disney has this year that you could really say they have any chance with, right? I can't think of anything else they have on the docket for the upcoming season, 2 seasons or 3 seasons, I guess, that since technically the summer season has started for movies, but it's not summer yet. But anyway, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We got a clip the other day.
Mm-hmm.
But some of us have seen the clip before, and we saw more than that clip.
Yep.
And I take it you were one of them, Michael.
Oh, I downloaded it before the YouTube could pull it down. I have the whole theme.
Yeah. Tom, add some context. What was this clip that you're referring to?
Well, this clip shows Indiana Jones being overpowered by a Fleabag.
Yeah, what I meant
driving
was
and heroing abilities.
Yeah, was that it was a clip from the movie that wasn't supposed to be released online, but that accidentally, because this is like something that's recorded from a screening or something like that, isn't it?
Yep, it's recorded off somebody's cell phone while they were privileged to be watching this whole scene, the tuk-tuk chase from Indy 5.
Yeah. Now we cannot show it here, so. Michael, why don't you break it down for us, this glorious scene? What happens in it?
Well, it's how do I succinctly describe this for everybody who's familiar with the Indiana Jones franchise without going into sarcasm? It is what I would call your standard late stage Indiana Jones chase scene, in the sense of it's got a lot of whimsical John Williams adventure music. It is Indiana Jones and whatever Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, I can't ever remember her, Helena Shaw. They are chasing each other on these small little tuk-tuk vehicles wherever they are in the world, dodging cars and going down, alleyways. And as they're doing this, they're chasing Mads Mikkelsen's character, who is the bad guy, and he's in the back of a legit car. And in what this is why I call it late stage Indiana Jones. That's my term. Anyone else is free to use it, but it's the only way I know how to describe it. This is totally counter to what James Mangold has been saying this film was going to be. James Mangold kept making overtures for months that Dial of Destiny was going to be the first Indiana Jones film to really recapture Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So, Michael, are you telling us he might not have been truthful?
Yes, he is not truthful. Or he has really misconstrued what the atmosphere and tone of Raiders of the Lost Ark was, because everything you're seeing in this chase, from the storyboarding, the pace, the choreography, the music, and the bickering banter, because Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge in the two separate vehicles are constantly bickering back and forth.
Oh my.
And you sit there and you go, we really didn't start seeing things like that until Temple of Doom. That was not in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No.
You know, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe I've said this on this channel, maybe I've said it on others, but they completely misunderstand the concept of banter between two characters. If they think that Marion and Indy bickering is the same thing as someone who is shrill and not a romantic love interest bickering with Indy, they're just not comparable. Bickering between romantic partners that people want to see them get together, that is interesting. That is great subtext. That is fun. The Wicker Baskets, this is the only thing that I can think they're comparing it to, is the Wicker Baskets scene. But I don't see anyone saying, you know what was missing from Raiders of the Lost Ark? A go-kart chase.
A go-kart chase was.
But even the bickering in Raiders of the Lost Ark in that one chase wasn't bickering. It was her screaming for Indiana Jones so she could figure out where he was. It wasn't like what happened in Temple of Doom with Willie, and then in Last Crusade with his dad, and then in Crystal Skull with literally anybody else on screen. This Raiders of the Lost Ark had none of that. And this, on the other hand, is leaning into that Last Crusade, Crystal Skull, like what happened in the motorcycle chase on the college campus.
It does feel like a mix between the motorcycle bit and the bit on the edge of the cliff when they're in the Jeep. And somebody who I bicker with quite often, and I think we got great chemistry on screen, and one of these days we may resolve it in a romantic situation. Who knows? He keeps sending me naughty pictures. Mr. Paul Chato.
Show us those pits.
Yeah, those have now. I've got an only pit channel now.
But I don't know, Paul, if you've seen the Indiana Jones clip, but they did release an official version of it. It was in a shorter form. But anyway, continue, Michael, from where you were. Sorry.
Yeah, the bickering is not just sort of light and vapid, what I used to call diet raiders, like it was in Last Crusade and Crystal Skull. They've now added a new layer to the dialogue that has come up, where he's sitting there with John Williams' lighthearted version of the Indiana Jones music playing, what we've known since 1989. And he says, what would your father think of you right now, who you've grown up to be? And she looks back and she's like, what do you mean? Beautiful, successful, what's the word? Self-sufficient, beautiful, successful, self-sufficient. And then she drives off. And I thought to myself in that moment, I was like, self-sufficient characters don't have to tell the audience they're self-sufficient. Like, we all knew Marion Ravenwood was self-sufficient. We knew that from the context of the way she was introduced in the movie. And she never had to telegraph that for anybody.
She held her own against Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. And anybody else who grew, any good character of any gender who's well written doesn't have to tell the audience what they are.
Like Michael Berman.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is a lot like Michael Berman. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, the whole sequence from that regard is very Kathleen Kennedy. And then the other problem that I've had that I know a lot of other Indiana Jones fans don't want me to talk about because they want to run me off on a rail. And I know this because I've had this argument with them for 30 years in the message boards, is that we are now at a place where Harrison Ford looks really good for an 80-year-old man. He really does. But the stuff they're having his stunt doubles do with his face put on there, it's hard. It's next to impossible to buy. Him, making a split-second reflexive move to leap out of one vehicle before it gets smashed and jump into another moving vehicle at 90. And then, it's not, it's the verisimilitude isn't there. It's broken.
It kind of went out the window with Crystal Skull too in that respect. Yeah.
I didn't hate all of Crystal Skull.
No, but I get what Mike's saying, like in a sense that outside of that first bit in the warehouse.
Mhm.
Like after that, everything is so cartoony that they literally
Sure.
jumped the fridge, right? Like, I mean, that's been the new,
Mhm.
or nuking the fridge is the new term for jumping the shark now because of that.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
and this latest trailer, they kind of hint at a creaky indie, but really they missed the opportunity to make it full on creaky. That this should have been Barnaby Jones. This could have been so clever, where he's using his accumulated knowledge and experience to deal with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I would have written it. This is just so insane to try to reach back into the adventure trope. That whole putt-putt sequence reminded me. I don't know if you guys know the movie Undercover Brother, but they've got
Oh,
this
yeah.
absolutely hilarious golf cart chase.
Yeah.
Soon as I saw the putt-putt sequence, I went, "Holy fuck, that's the golf cart chase from Undercover Brother."
Oh no.
I look, they could have done that, and I would have appreciated, an older doddering,
No,
indie.
it didn't have to be doddering, just
Well,
aware of his limitations
Sure,
and the fact that he can outthink people now.
sure, but to my greater point,
Sorry to interrupt.
it would have been wonderful had they been able to do that and lean into his intellect and all of his other things, Paul. But you know why they can't do that? It doesn't work with their agenda. You can't show, an accumulated, wise, knowledgeable male in particular, especially white, in a positive light. It doesn't work with their, knock everybody down agenda. Because you can't build other people up. You have to knock down other things because we think so little of these other characters that we're introducing because they're one dimensional rather than three dimensional, like Indiana Jones. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that.
And I just hope there's a gonad hoofing scene, because that one of Disney's favorite tropes now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just, this whole thing. I think my disappointment is that everything I'm seeing is everything I expected. When everybody was trying to tell me, oh well, Lucas is out and Spielberg isn't doing it either, it's James Mangold, and I said, it's still Disney and it's still Kathleen Kennedy, and there's still all of these weird, undefined corporate politics that are going into this. I don't even mean politics. I mean corporate politics, corporate culture politics, and decision making going into this. And you now have this
I think what
franchise
you're trying to
ending
say is ESG derived creative decisions.
Yes, thank
There
you.
is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're yelling at each other. These 500cc 2-cycle engines with almost no muffler and a leaky manifold, and they're able to hear each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember being on the highway in my Chev Impala 1965 Chev Impala, trying to pass a joint to someone else, at 70 miles per hour. And we couldn't hear
As
each
you
other.
do.
Yeah.
But we couldn't hear each other. We're yelling, take it. What?
Yeah.
Well, looking at that clip, doesn't that just remind you of everything else that the dad audience loves about James Mangold? Doesn't that just remind you of Logan and Ford versus Ferrari? Or
No.
No,
That's
not
And
at
that
all.
clip doesn't
Loving
even
it.
show some of the worst of it, right? Like, because I've seen the full clip that Mike's talked
Yep.
about too. And you see a lot of basically Indy being not just sidelined, but literally pushed to the back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what would have been?
Literally pushed to the back.
Yeah.
How old was Connery when he did Last Crusade and he was supposed to be playing?
He was only a couple years older than Harrison Ford, but
Yeah. He was either in his late 50s or just turned 60 or something like that. Like, he wasn't as old as he was playing.
Mhm.
And that should have been what Harrison. That's what I was thinking. That should have been what Harrison.
well, and they actually fudged like 10 years from what we can tell from the timeline here, right, Michael? Like,
Yeah.
from what it seems, because he's 10 years older, and they fudged 10 years in there from where it would be.
Yeah, they're trying to
technically.
play him like he's in his 70s or something. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh no.
I'm not even there in my 70s, and I couldn't do that shit.
Right. It's somebody said in the chat, they were like, oh well, he's always never done his own stunts, it's just acting. And I'm like, look, there's a difference between acting and being able to suspend your disbelief. Those are two totally different things.
We've gotten into an era where people are now not just doing sequels, they're imitating the previous movie. It's not a sequel. And
Right.
and you're going, anyone with any, so when Spielberg and Lucas were doing the original Indiana Joneses, they did it for themselves. They were having fun. It showed that they were knowledgeable about, the character and the genre, and they were just going for it. These are not fun.
No.
There's no, how do I say it? There's no nerdy goofiness about these. These are manufactured copies of previous movies.
Yeah.
This looks like what would happen if a highly powered artificial intelligence
Yes.
was told to make an Indiana Jones movie where he's this age.
You know what? It would have done a better job. Because
Actually, you're right, Paul.
I was about to say, yeah, it would have been better because a highly powered artificial intelligence would be far more intelligent than what passes for intelligence.
As long as you don't feed it Crystal Skull to draw from, you.
Well, even then, they're gonna say, well, you can't do that with an 80-year-old man. Like, what are you nuts? I'm not writing it. I'm quitting. I quit. You're not gonna make this AI do this bullshit. I'm done.
Boy, this AI is worse than most of the writers, yeah, in that sense, if it stands on those laurels. But no, like, do we think this movie's going to do anything for Disney's bottom line, though? Because going off of the discussion earlier, frankly, I'm not so sure. I mean, I think it might have a strong opening, but I think word of mouth is gonna depend on whether or not it carries through.
Here's something funny. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jonas. Go ahead.
The funny thing for me is Disney might have shot themselves in the foot a little bit with one of their recent announcements. They just announced that Indiana Jones and I think all 4 movies plus the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles are going to be on Disney Plus. So they have now, if anyone is paying attention, if this marketing campaign is successful, they will associate Indiana Jones with Disney. From my personal standpoint, I don't think that's the way to get people to come to this movie right now. And they misunderstand the damage to their brand that they've got.
It's funny you mentioned that, Jonas, because I just brought that up as to why I think Star Wars and Marvel are struggling. Because prior to Disney Plus, most of the normies wouldn't necessarily know that those films were distributed by Disney until Disney Plus. Then they became more aware of it. And I think you're right in that respect. Go ahead, Culture. And then I want to hear what Michael was going to say too.
Yeah. I want to introduce this to the idea that Jonas just put out there. They're also putting the first 4 films on Paramount Plus as well.
Oh, they're already there. They're on there right now.
Yeah. So isn't that quite interesting? I mean, again, the walls of the walled garden are starting to come down. It's like somebody hit the reset button on streaming.
Indiana Jones has not had the continued upfront presence that Star Wars has had since the 90s. Indiana Jones it became this vacation franchise for all the major players that made the first 2 films. Suddenly it was like, let's all get back together and hang out and catch up with our families and do another Indiana Jones film, and that'll be fun. And Harrison Ford, Lucas, and Spielberg. Spielberg didn't even want anything to do with a 4th indie film. He considered himself a director at that point, and he wanted to go off and do all these great things. So when they finally did 4, it was like a family vacation. And then they didn't do another one for, what has it been, 15 years? So it doesn't have what Star Wars had in the marketplace. It could have had, but they never prioritized it. So Indiana Jones is not present for the target audience that Disney is constantly courting with their terrible Star Wars stuff. So when these films get foisted onto Disney Plus in a Hail Mary play to try and get the kids familiar with the character before this tentpole movie comes out, how effective is it really going to be at getting them into the theater? It really feels like this movie is like, for our generation, it's what Space Cowboys was for our parents' generation. Like, really, hey, let's go see these actors do one more thing that we're really all familiar with and we love these guys. And for our generation, it's like, oh, let's go see this guy do one more thing. And who are we going to go see this movie with? Probably our parents, our parents. I don't see a lot of kids getting all that ramped up about Indiana Jones because it has not been fostered. The franchise has not been nurtured. The franchise has not been energized. It has laid dormant twice now in 2 huge periods of time. You know how I equate it? Here's how I equate it. The Indiana Jones films of the 80s are to the Dukes of Hazzard TV series what the post 80s Indiana Jones films are to the Dukes of Hazzard TV reunion specials.
Ouch.
That's the way it works.
Well, and I don't think you're wrong there, because Spielberg just wasn't there for Crystal Skull. He just kind of gave in to Lucas's whims at that point, and that's why I brought up this clip, because basically this is Spielberg during the making of Crystal Skull.
Jesus,
Right.
Ben, I said I'm busy.
And yeah, so go ahead. Sorry, go Jonas.
There's a funny little time bomb here. I was trying to think of what I would do if I wanted to put something on my channel to coincide with the release of Indiana Jones. And the best I could think of, and someone can steal this idea if they want. Actually, don't do it. I think I might do it. Josh Ami Gibbs from the Pirates movies, Kevin McNally, he had an episode of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles where he and the little kid actor playing Indiana Jones both did blackface. It's in like episode 2 of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I can't imagine that one is going to make it onto Disney Plus.
Well, I'm curious if they'll even have I was curious about that. I was going to ask it, but now that you brought it up, I will. I'm curious if they will even have the entire run, because Spielberg notoriously cut down the run of the show when he released it on DVD years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he only put out the episodes he wanted.
And he cut out all of the old indie that was in the show.
No old indie, because it would have went against Crystal Skull. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of a lost, listless franchise that's kind of grasping in the dark for something to grab onto, and with the mixed messages coming from Disney, about it, where they're saying, "Oh, we support Harrison Ford's want to end all of the films with this movie. In other words, we will not attempt to recast the live action element of this." Disney, of course, not the greatest studio to be shepherding what, when done right, is an edgy, historically based, not always comfortable time period to depict. Disney is the wrong studio for that. To me, and I think Andre will appreciate what I'm about to say, to me, Disney doing Indiana Jones is like considering Disney doing a Conan film. Like, it's just, they're not the studio mentally equipped to do it. They shouldn't be touching this. And
unless they travel back in time to when Weinstein was running stuff for them under Miramax.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It's the whole thing is kind of listless, because they're sending the mixed message of Indiana Jones ends with this final Harrison Ford film. We're going to hype that proudly. That's a dumb idea. Indiana Jones, we're coming back with a TV series, maybe. Oh, and we're putting all the movies on Disney Plus. And you're going, which is it, guys? Crap or get off the pot? Is Indiana Jones as a franchise being rejuvenated and going forward, or is it ending? Pick a lane.
It's rejuvenated. It's fantastic. Nothing better.
Oh God.
They'll just bring him out after he's dead and just keep wheeling.
Now, I would say Close Encounters has very much a Disney feel to it. Like it's got to have who was it who was in the Shaggy DA?
Tim Allen?
No. The
original, I can't remember.
He was in Shanghai. God damn it! Big Trouble in Little China.
Was it really Kurt Russell in the original Shaggy?
Yes. Yeah, he was in there. Kurt Russell. So I mean, like they obviously Disney would have turned Close Encounters of a Third Kind into, or the other one with the alien, with the finger.
E.T.
E.T. But that would have been more of a Shaggy DA kind of movie if they had done it. The Spielberg managed to keep a certain edge on his kind of non-sci-fi sci-fi things. So but yeah, I think you're right. I can't see, they're absolutely the wrong company to do
Anything.
anything Indiana Jones. Now that being said, even Spielberg got Tintin wrong. He thought Tintin was Indiana Jones, and
Right.
it's not.
No.
I was furious with that movie. Don't get me started on Tintin.
Yeah.
So I mean, Spielberg is illiterate. He clearly doesn't read books.
I don't want to turn the audience against me, but why not? No, just shortly, I'll just say this, Chato. I as we look back and reassess, I find Steven Spielberg in his later career to be a highly overrated visionary filmmaker. I think we can kind of say that
he's not the same guy.
No,
he was kidnapped by the same aliens that took Michael Jackson back in the day and replaced him with a doppelganger. I think it was the same time they came and got Tim Burton. They got Steven and a few others.
As someone who has had good success, I realized that my 3 years of success was pretty much all I could sustain.
Your comment about Tim Burton, we're gonna have this interesting litmus test with Beetlejuice 2 to see just what step Tim Burton has missed, or whether he's still got it.
Basically, somewhere between like Planet of the Apes or whatever it happened, I think. But Spielberg's the same thing. Like his last Spielberg movie was probably Catch Me If You Can, and he even had a few before that were kind of going off the rails. So like, he has not done a quote unquote Spielberg movie for close to 15 years now or more.
Well, and I think it's because when you're in your prime, your vision, your experiences match the audience that's out there. Like, what the hell was he doing with that West Side Story? Right, that's what we needed now. If there's anything
I have no idea
we needed was West Side Story now. So that to me is more a function of him.
That's the same.
It's not a function of him not losing his ability to make movies. He's still a phenomenal, movie maker, but he's not connecting with the audience anymore.
He's not been the same guy though, because he sat there and said, I will never make a movie where the aliens are the villains. And then he turned around a couple years later and did War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds was a lot of fun though. I love that.
That's because he lost touch with the audience. He lost
Chato, you can't simultaneously be a phenomenal movie maker, not be able to engage with your audience in the current time period.
You're talking about a guy who said, oh, well, the reason I took all the Steven Spielberg movie references out of Ready Player One, a book based on Spielberg references, rather than him recuse himself from directing it, was because I felt that would be too self-serving. And then a few years later, he's like, I've made a movie about my childhood and how magically awesome I was. Come check it out. And
you know what's sad? Is he ended up letting his mom take over that too in his life. Did you see it, Michael?
No, what happened?
Oh, the movie is great for about 20 minutes. The rest of the movie is just about how and he even says it to his mother in the movie. He's like, not everything is about you. And it's like, clearly it is, Steven. Even your movie about you is about your fucking mother. Right, because it is. You spent 2 hours about your mom and just barely little bits and pieces about what people really wanted to see about it. It wasn't even a story about him at the end of the day.
I hate to say it. J.J. Abrams would have done a better job on Ready Player One.
Anybody would have. And I agree 100% with Michael. That was my assessment of the film right after I got done seeing it. Spielberg is too close to this. This is a movie that somebody who's inspired by Spielberg should be making, not him.
I don't think Ready Player One was filmable.
I don't know about that. I just think it was Spielberg was the wrong choice.
Everything is filmable. You just need the right vision to translate it to screen.
Sure, and Blade Runner had almost nothing to do with Philip K. Dick's novel.
Yeah, exactly, and you could still do a literal adaptation of Philip K. Dick's novel. It would just be nothing like Blade Runner.
True.
Right.
The second Blade Runner was nothing like Blade
but I mean, we
Runner,
do, regardless of Spielberg would have been attached to this Indiana Jones, I don't know if that would have saved the day or not. I think Mangold was in over his head from the start. I think when he acted out online and went after people like Matthew Kadish, that was a clear sign that he knew that there was something wrong with this movie, and it was going to be everything that Michael had said that his fears are going to be. Everybody said their fears are going to be. We're seeing nothing but proof out of all the trailers and clips that all the leaks and everything we heard are true. regardless if they've reshot the ending or not, whoever you want to believe. I'm sorry, but I believe John Williams when he says, yeah, in 2 weeks, I got to go back and do new music for Indiana Jones because they reshot the ending.
Yep.
I believe that because he's not going to lie about that. Where would he have any incentive to lie about that? But everybody else involved sure does have the incentive to lie about that. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, John Williams was prevented from commenting on The Littlest Mermaid. So come on, get off.
Why would he have anything to say about The Little Mermaid?
That's my Aladdin tie-in.
I was going to say that was the guy from Aladdin.
No, I'm tying in everyone who's not allowed to comment.
Everyone's a suspect.
He was a little bitter after Aladdin came out and he couldn't get his second role after his big break. And I think they primed the pump for a little bit of discontent there. Disney is willing to cast anyone in a role right now. No fault to the guy. Mina Masood. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing his name. He was fine. But
it was fun, yeah.
But and now he's probably going to get another Disney role in exchange for his lack of social media presence for a little while.
Yeah. As soon as the writer strike is over and they have like the right thing, when the time is right.
Yeah, he's taking over Moses Ingram's role in the next.
Oh my. Well, we'll get back to Indiana Jones, I'm sure, in due course as it gets closer to the movie dropping. And Michael, we want you to come back for that as well. And you can stick around now. We're going to move on to some other Disney business, though. To you, though, if you have other things to do.
No, that's fine. I'll be here for the next few minutes. Please go ahead.
And then after the Disney business, we got to talk about soap.
Yeah, baby. I know what you mean. A lot of soap.
I still have not seen it, and I can't wait to
oh,
see it.
Lord, with a W.
I think
that's
I
all
know
I can
what
say.
you're talking about.
Yeah. It's been flooded in my inbox in the last hour. It's like, yes, we're going to get to it here, but we have a few things we have to get to first. Unfortunately, Andrew still hasn't joined us, so we're going to quickly broach these stories since they're in the topics, and since we got Mikey here, he can help us out a little bit too in culture probably.
I think there's even some
Jonas.
super chats about it too.
Sure. So if you know of them, Michael, go ahead and grab them. We can jump right off of them while I'm getting the story prepped here.
She's got them flagged.
She got them ready. Okay, cool. But yes, we have two separate stories that have to do with Disney and lawsuits right now. Because not only are they facing financial woes, as we talked about at the top of the story, the top of the show.
I like culture.
They are. Yeah, 6 doesn't know what you're talking about. Evidently, it says. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. We got this one here. Is this one of them? I saw at Mike. Adam says, should should Disney have already recognized contingencies with respect to the risk of losing losses arising from the RC situation, the Reedy Creek deal?
God, how do I approach this?
My question to you, Mike, would be, what are the contingencies?
I think here's the thing. Here's the thing,
Reedy
Adam.
Creek is no more now. But
no,
yeah, sorry.
here's the thing, Adam. I think, God, this is such a great question. Here's the thing. Should they have? Yes. However, this company has has such arrogance and hubris about its status within the state of Florida and its import that imagine blind arrogance. It's kind of like the guy that's free spending money. Money's coming in from your company, from your clients. You know, you buy a Ferrari, you know, cash flow's flowing in, you know, you're flying to, you know, you take your staff on retreats in Hawaii instead of just doing them in the office. That's a little bit what Disney has done, is that they'd had willy-nilly ability to do what they want within this geographic area for so long that the very concept of coming up with a contingency plan, or even basically looking at their financials and coming up with a financial plan as to what this would mean if they lost, never entered the fray. I think all along, at every step of the way, what we've seen from this company is we've seen that no one can do anything to us. And if they try to do anything to us, we're still Disney and they can go F themselves, because that has been their posture the whole way. When in reality, the easiest thing would have been to do is that when things got hot and heavy well over a year ago, they simply could have come to the table, even through their delegates to DeSantis's people, and they could have carved out a new district. I am fully convinced that they could have reorganized a new district, but they're like, no, We want things the way we've always had them. Wah, 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 wah.
They thought they could throw their big dick around, and it didn't work out that way. And technically, Chapek was in talks.
We now know this for a fact,
Yeah.
because it's not. We know for a fact that Chapek was trying to let reason and logic.
And
rule the day.
Tennille says, Mike, can you repeat that? My Morse code is out of practice.
Okay,
So
basically every time Tom hit the beep, every time Tom hit beep, I said an F word. Okay, so.
Tennille says the upfronts was on playing live on closed circuit here at Fox a lot the other day. There was a bunch of derisive laughter for Disney stuff. Uh-oh.
Well, that brings up a whole other issue too, which is that it's one thing when people like us who are hardcore fans of Marvel, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, when we're laughing at what they're putting out is one thing. When it starts getting to the point where where your own industry peers start laughing at you, well, that becomes a whole other thing completely.
Well, on the Reedy Creek situation, there's lawsuits going left and right. And while we still got you here, Mike, and Jonas for a bit, I have yet to hear Mike's take on any of this stuff either. So I'm curious to hear what he has to say. But Disney is asking Florida court to toss out the lawsuit brought on by Ron DeSantis. Now, this was the countersuit. Am I not mistaken? By Ron and his people when Disney decided they were going to sue him. Am I not mistaken?
All right,
Yep.
so
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah, slightly. So Jonas,
Please tell me.
Jonas, jump in anytime you want. So Disney filed in federal court over free speech, constitutional.
Right. That's
freedom
what I
of
meant.
speech.
Yes.
Now, a countersuit would have been if they filed in that same court. They didn't. What happened instead is that
Oh, okay.
Disney's next chess move, look at it, think of it like a chess move. Their next move was to file in state court a lawsuit against Disney. And now what's happening here is that in response to that filing that Ron DeSantis, that the state of Florida did, Disney is now asking for that lawsuit to be tossed out, which it's not going to be. It's just not going to happen. I could be wrong. Miracles could happen. Jonas, what say you?
Yeah, they want to, because Disney's lawsuit is a federal lawsuit, and the SIFTOD, or whatever we're going to end up calling the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, their lawsuit is a state lawsuit. And if it stays in Florida, it's much more favorable to Florida, the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis isn't a party to that countersuit, I think, from SIFTOD. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't like the name, but it's better than saying the whole thing. I don't think that this is going to be dismissed, but Disney admits that the point is moot, and they admit that Reedy Creek is dissolved at this point. So a constitutional issue, well, I guess you got Citizens United Part 2. This time it's the liberals that are pushing for it. I don't think it's going to elevate to that level, and I don't think that the Supreme Court is going to be favorable to Disney at this point. I don't understand what the advantage is here for Disney.
Disney.
It's like, is that my phone? What is going on here?
But
no, it's just
Disney
some
wants-
soap opera music we needed, I guess.
Is that the Rings of Power theme?
No, I think it's
No,
the
this is
Young and
As
the
the
Restless.
Yeah, this is the Young and the Restless. But Disney.
Anyway, sorry, I don't want to get pegged, so I'll leave that alone. But no, this is turning into a soap opera here at this point, it sounds like.
It absolutely is turning into a soap opera, and the fact of the matter is that these lawsuits are about spilled milk. The Reedy Creek district does not legally exist in order to fight over.
No, and
It is dead. It is gone. It was abolished. And what Disney should have done is that if it thought that, and this is the thing that's so dichotomous to me, because if this was so important to them, why didn't they just go back to the state of Florida and say, look, we want a new district. We understand that, you're not going to renew, or, blah, 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 blah. That would have happened, because it would have been at that time in everybody's interest. Instead, Disney is saying that not only does it want back all of the special privileges that it does, but it's saying that you took it away from me because I wanted to take a stand on this K-3 bill, which is disgusting, because anyone that has a child, especially at that age group, can understand this. No one should be talking about sex at all to children at all in general, let alone in this age group, and certainly not in schools without parents knowing what's going on. Disney has said that it believes in that so much so that it chose to file a federal court case in federal court, hoping it would get a favorable judge, and say that Disney's being meanie-faced because this is my constitutional right to free speech, that I as a company should be able to take a stand for K-3 sexual talkabouts and be against this bill. That Disney is literally saying that we are so committed to this woke ideology, which it's not woke, it's freaking criminal, that they're so committed to this that they're willing to lose billions of dollars, and this is a prolonged fight. And frankly, if this district is so important, why are you still not coming to the table? Because it's only getting worse for them. This is not going to be this is not going to go over well in any way, shape, or form, and certainly not taking the case. So certainly saying, well, Ron DeSantis is meanie face and he handpicked the people that are on the new board. Well, guess what? That's what a governor does.
Yep.
I'm quite sure Disney wouldn't file a lawsuit of Gavin Newsom in California handpicking people that he does all the time to be on one board or another.
Yeah. I mean, it's a political fight at that point, but here's the bigger, broader issue. This is not a fight they can win, Mike. I mean, you've acknowledged that. Jonas has talked about it at length. WW Pro, of course, Andrew specifically has done multiple videos on how this is laughable. It's all lost. They lost already. And you're right. They should have applied for a new district immediately. But that's not the whole point of the lawsuits. The lawsuits are only there to delay. I have to keep saying it because that's absolutely what it is. It's a delay tactic. They are trying to play a longer game and keep as much autonomy as they possibly can. Disney has never had to reveal what their plans were when they were building out attractions. There was such a level of secrecy because of RCID that you never knew what they were building. You had to have special access to the comptroller, I'm pretty sure, in order to see the blueprints and the layouts for what were coming. Whereas, Universal didn't enjoy that benefit. You can get everything that they're doing behind the scenes rather easily. That's one of the many factors here. But, the tax thing is probably the biggest concern for Disney. And, the fact that, they may not be able to control the flow of traffic in their area now should be of paramount concern.
Oh, that's going to be devastating.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so good for everyone else that they have been bullying for the last 60 years.
Yep.
They've been able to control access to all their competitors in that area. Bonnet Creek, the hotels that you have to go through Disney property to get there. Anybody that just wants a convenient driveway to get onto reasonable roads, they're going to have that now. Yep. Disney has been playing. This is why we call them the rat now. Disney has been playing unfair for so long, and they've been trying to hide it. And it was probably fine when they were everybody's favorite company. But now that they're acting like a jerk, they've had a little too much to drink. Everybody wants them to go home and slip it off.
Consider this. They used to do a great job of controlling their waterways and managing the wetlands and everything else around them, which they didn't have a gator problem in that lagoon until very recently, which ended rather tragically. But I mean, you used to have swimmers out there. There was actually a wave generation machine that you could wade out into the lake, and not really surf the waves, but kids had a good time. And that went away because they stopped managing the waterways around the place. They basically became an absentee landlord from the balance of their property, which they used to control rather well. But there's all kinds of issues that have been created out of the management of the land that they own. I mean, they've made a lot of mistakes. This is probably the biggest one they've made. I would have pointed at Flamingo Crossings as like a big bungle for them, but I think this is probably, as far as it goes for their land in Florida, this is the worst possible thing because it's going to end up in the $10 billion range or more. I don't even know. Mike, do you have an estimate for how much this is going to cost them? I mean, the taxes have to be just ridiculous.
Well, as I've said on other shows, the bonds, I mean, you can argue that the impact of the bonds is only $1 billion, but tens of billions, hundreds of billions. I mean, the perspective is simple. If I give any member of you on this panel all of Manhattan Island
Mhm.
times 2.
Mhm.
What is that worth? I don't know. What is it worth? I mean, essentially, if I give you it between 1 and 2 times the size of Manhattan, and I let you decide what you want to do with it, what is that worth? I can tell you that if I'm driving down Fifth Avenue,
Billions at least.
Billions.
tens of
Trillions.
billions,
Yeah, tens
hundreds
of
of
billions.
billions,
Hundreds of billions.
I mean, think about it.
Almost priceless in a weird way. but
Literally
yeah.
priceless, and that's the flip side of what Disney this area is worth, and being able to do what you want, build what you want, build where you want, build when you want, build how you want. I mean, my God, any of us with houses know that we need a permit just to change the freaking electrical in the garage and damn near
You're not
most
wrong.
cities and counties. Yet here Disney can move streets, pave roads,
Well,
and
that was
houses.
another part of this, them requesting this be dropped, is because in the process of all this, they rushed through 2 projects that basically got canceled once the new district took over. And that's another thing they're griping about. So this goes way deeper into that business, but yeah, I don't know if you guys had anything more to add to that before we move on to the other legal woes that are hitting Disney recently.
Yeah.
What's the next one? I'd love. Are we going to be talking about the shareholder lawsuit?
Yep, let's go.
Yes. So speaking of financial woes and legal woes, they cross paths
Oh boy.
again when this lawsuit was brought about by shareholders against Bob Chapek and Disney over misrepresentation. Now, who wants to do the honors of briefing us on this one?
Jonas.
Sure. It's
Please.
it's a local union's pension fund, I do believe, if this is the same lawsuit.
Yes.
Although
Yep.
we're in a state right now, as in we are in a condition right now where I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more of these. I don't know that they can until the impairment thing came up. That point about the impairment that you made, Mike, I thought maybe this would go nowhere because it was small jurisdictions that were small local news sites that were talking about it first, but now the bigger people are picking up. Deadline picking it up, and I think Variety picked it up as well. There's a little bit more to this. I think they're doing more than grifting by bringing up this lawsuit. And I don't think Chapek.
And isn't this actually the second one in 6 months? Sorry, go ahead, John.
Yes, and I think I heard about another one. Originally I thought this is going nowhere, but I'm just gut feeling. I don't think this is going to go away as quickly as I originally thought. As if anybody has any idea how much I originally thought it was going to go away. But I don't think Chapek is going to be in trouble for this. I think it would probably be the current board. I don't know why they named Chapek as opposed to Iger.
Because he's the one that the reason that they did this is because the crux of the lawsuit has to do with statements that were made to investors that were signed by whoever was a CEO, CFO, et cetera, on the call. And that's Marty, I'll get to that question. Put that class action in motion. Okay, so put that up because I'm going to get to that in a second. So anyway, so getting back on point here with the CFO lawsuit is that Chapek was a CEO at the time, so that's important.
And supposedly Christine McCarthy did get Chapek fired over statements over streaming. I think, that would be beautiful if this came up in court to have, because I don't think NDAs count in court, do they? When you're facing
not
criminal?
when it comes to criminal stuff, no.
Yeah, they could actually compel him to speak outside of the NDA, I believe.
I was going to say, is that why they're possibly naming him in this? Is because they would need him to speak out in this respect? Because
the reason on the outlook here that Chapek got fired was because he had said something that he shouldn't have said, supposedly, about streaming numbers. And that was what worried Christine McCarthy so much. Now, since then, we've seen that there was actually a flurry of activity around Nelson Peltz's campaign to get a board seat. That the hotter that got, the more activity you saw on the Disney side, ultimately resulting in this weird proximity between Chapek being out and Peltz almost getting an observer seat on the board.
And part of the go ahead, I'm sorry.
If that came out in court, I think Chapek would probably still be able to hold on to his millions if he confessed in court to this. So I don't know. I see this as a win-win for us people who comment on it, but Ooh, yikes.
You know what fascinates me is that this is what happens when you pivot as a company. Disney historically has been a company that made cash off of theme parks and entertainment to the mass public, cruise ships, hotels, Disney vacations, Disney park experiences, yada yada yada. Then it decides to get into the movie business and become a Hollywood studio. Then it decides it's going to do Disney Plus, and then it hinges all of its value proposition as a company into the Disney Plus streaming Netflix type of model, because that's what Bob Iger did. That's what Chapek inherited. So when he has to come up as a CEO, what's Wall Street expecting? Wall Street is expecting that Wall Street will hear about Disney Plus being successful, Disney Plus growing, Disney Plus revenue, ARPU not falling, and that the future looks bright and that losses. And if you remember the last two quarterly calls that Chapek did do, each time he ended his comments towards the end about saying when Disney Plus would become profitable, and not just about the growth in sub numbers, which drives the revenue. So this lawsuit is hitting right on the head. It's kind of like it's like this is a situation where they overpromised, underdelivered, and the investors are pissed about it because they overpromised and underdelivered, and probably even misstated.
Well, and not only that, they tried to obfuscate where the spending was coming from and not revealing exactly just how much money the Disney Plus adventure was costing them and how much red ink there actually was. But let me add a little bit of salt to this wound here for Disney. Nelson Peltz just upped his stake in the company.
Yes.
Oh, no. Why doesn't he
Corporate
just short
takeover?
Well, I think maybe he reignites his proxy war. What do you think, Mikey, Jonas, guys?
Well, let's just take a look at what the Disney stock price is right now. Not any recommendation to buy or sell, but $92.97 at this exact moment. That is the value at which he invested originally, I do believe, and that is he gained 30% of value when he backed down from the proxy fight, and now that has all been blown away by the activity between now and then. So he's lost millions of dollars in close to like 30% of his value in the company,
Now,
something like that.
Going back to our earlier story, how would those write-downs affect their stock going forward, Mike? Or what would you expect, I guess?
Well, here's the thing is that, first of all, the stock price is lower than it was when Chapek got fired at the Elton John concert.
Oh, really? I thought
Right.
it was 89.
Oh, wow.
No, it dropped to 89 and after market trading that weekend. No, it was at 90 something that Monday.
It's real close to the ballpark, but yeah, I mean the lowest point I think it was 84 something. I'm not looking at the stock, the 52-week.
My big question though is it going to affect it real badly?
Things like a shareholder lawsuit like this, not at this level, because it's not a class action. Let's go back to that comment we had from another one of our
let's
live chat members who asked a good
Marty
question.
McFly.
If it's class action, can't other pension funds join in? That's true, but they're going to have to find other people that are willing to step up to this and be the lead. They're going to need lead
plaintiffs.
Yeah, lead plaintiffs in this case. But it could become class action. That would be to go from this. This is sort of like a warning shot across the bow. If it ever went investor class action, then we have something thermonuclear to talk about. That would be just absolutely epic and awful.
So it's not to that level yet.
No, and if you did have a class action lawsuit, that would probably hurt the stock price.
And that's what they're seeking. They're seeking to make this a class action, and I imagine they will get a lot of other pension funds on board, because if you can fundamentally prove that they have deteriorated the value of the stock, they've not performed their fiduciary duty, you've got a lot of problems there. And I see other folks jumping in on this, and once you start seeing that, other companies may start to get.
I have a question for you all guys here, because my understanding, like I'm not a lawyer, I've only very briefly read the background on this, but my understanding is the reason that Bob Chapek is named specifically is because they are the issues they're focusing on right here is related to this new distribution department that he started with Kareem
GMAD.
Daniels, which Bob Iger instantly shut down, of course. To me, this is like the tip of the iceberg where losses and everything are concerned. That's like a moot point now anyway. And this is why I don't think that this thing here is going to continue or move forward, because the losses, they continue even though this distribution department does not. So Disney absolutely has issues, but it shouldn't take too much effort to see what the real problems are, how they've infused values into their entertainment, which goes directly against the majority of consumers. How long until you get a class action lawsuit from shareholders to that end? Because the door has been opened now.
Here's the thing. What's hurting the Disney right now, in particular, that I think people are getting tired of waiting, isn't just the stock price. It's the fact that they also don't issue dividends. They don't declare or issue dividends. And for many a year, over many a time period, Disney could be relied upon as a stock that, regardless of whether or not it was accelerating in price value or decelerating or however much, it was by and large for a long time known as a pretty stable stock. And that the one thing you could count on is that they would predict dividends and issue dividends. Now, when you have investment funds that are managed by woke fund managers, as you've aptly commented and reported on, Andre, in your and Tom's videos, when you have these funds that are trying to, because why if you're an investment fund and you're a pension fund, people in the chat, there's what, a couple 1,500 of you in the chat. If I'm in charge of your retirement funds, okay, and I want to make sure that when you retire, that the value of your funds not only doesn't go down, but it actually issues dividends so that that investment grows over time. Why would I stay invested in Disney if not for, I'm trying not to pull my money out because I don't want to be seen as an anti-woke investment fund? Because
you're basically talking about ones that are pretty much sure things. Now Disney is no longer those.
Exactly, Tom. That is exactly. Disney is no longer a sure thing, but it has been a sure thing for so long that there is a great amount of faith and goodwill that, as cultures are reported on, is a lot of a ticking time bomb. Because when Jonas, the things that Jonas says, culture says, the pro says, once their theme parks start going under attack from Universal, that's the very foundation. And so what's going to happen, I think, is that if they continue to fail to declare and pay out dividends, then other local, regional, and state funds are going to start getting pissed because they're not going to be able to perform to their shareholders, and their shareholders are their pensioners. These investment funds, these pension funds, they have pensioners to worry about, and pensioners don't want to know that their funds were mismanaged.
Well, look, I mean, all of this started the moment they pulled back on their stock buyback, right? They stopped increasing shareholder value by, reacquiring the stock. They had a decent amount of what we would call a war chest. They had a substantial war chest. And then entering the pandemic, they went and got some very favorable, loans, right? And didn't they issue bonds right before or just after we were getting into the pandemic? I can't remember the timing on that, but they had access to a lot of money that they kind of helped them navigate what they were just dealing with. But they stopped increasing shareholder value. I would say, I can't even. When did they stop doing the stock buyback, Mikey? I don't remember.
I don't remember the buyback, but I remember the payouts ended. They didn't do any since.
That was the pandemic. They stopped.
I was going to say that was all during the pandemic, so that's been almost 2 years now.
There was a different activist investor involved in talking them.
I don't remember. That was a while back. I mean,
I think it was 20. I think it was the end of 2019, 2020, if I remember right.
I think it was. Yeah, it wasn't 2020. I think it was 2019. Well, no.
Yeah, I think it was the end of 2019.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was in the 2019. Yeah, 2019. Yeah.
Well, on that note, we got a couple of super chats and member chats like this one from Waddle D's Nuts. who says, I suppose this latest lawsuit is Chapek playing 4D chess, getting himself sued so that higher forces can further investigate their finances. I don't know if it's that. Like I said, we think he's only being named in this is because during the time period that this covers, he's the one that was.
No, I think it's because of the distribution
and that thing that you were going to say. I was going to say, yeah,
which is why he is named and Karine Daniels is named. Now both of them are gone, and the whole thing is undone anyway, which is why it seems like ridiculous to blame anything on him, and why I don't think that this lawsuit is going to have much legs to stand on, because they are going to argue that, yeah, we did this organization, a reorganization, but it was never actually brought to full fruition. They did the restructuring on paper, but not a single project actually got greenlit under it. All of those things that came out and flopped, they were already Iger products. And the only thing that really came out of that green lighting, they haven't been released yet, like Deadpool 3, which is why like this whole thing seems like weird to me. I don't know that it's going to hold up, because if the issue in this lawsuit is the distribution department, they didn't do anything that's going to affect the bottom line, let alone the share price.
Yep.
WW Pro, who has a link, but he must not be able to make it, says, you guys are killing it today. Disney is dumping dollars. Yes, they are.
Yep. That impairment is on top of them spending billions to try to correct the Disney Plus content problem. They had a content problem before that they weren't really talking about. If you were sitting there waiting for things to come out on Disney Plus, you were disappointed every Wednesday. Got to say that. And then when you watch the content, you were disappointed further.
Yeah, and we got this one from Tennille and this one, so thank you so much. Again, Tennille, for the super chats and the support. And then we got Pilgrim Media, who says, Iron Man, what's Disney's financial woes long game? Yeah, what kind of chance do they have of getting out of this rut, I guess is the better.
I don't know, especially if they go for this Hulu thing. I mean, they were going to have to spend between $9 and $12 billion to buy out Hulu. And it's a weird situation to watch, because on the one hand, they kind of have to do it because Disney Plus sucks so bad that they're going to have to get their hands on all of Hulu, because Hulu is doing okay compared to Disney Plus. So they've got to buy it. But to go further in a debt, I mean, what was Fox? 72 billion?
I think it was
something like that.
God,
76 billion. What was Lucasfilm? 5?
4.06.
Yeah.
And then what was Marvel?
4.
Yeah.
So 8, 7. Jesus Christ! I mean,
and Pixar was 7, I do believe.
Good God! I mean, I don't know where the interest rates have never been higher. They're not going to go down, in my view. Financial advice is not offered by Midnight Center or its affiliate channels. Do not regard what Mexican Airman says as financial advice. I don't believe that interest rates are going to go down anytime soon, based upon the economic policies of this government. And that's just a observation. And so what are they going to do? Borrow money? I mean, this is where Disney's at. Next year, they're going to have to decide if they're going to borrow $9 to $12 billion, because they can't take it out of their operational cash. They need every dollar of their operational cash to keep this monstrosity going. So they've got money losing studios, money losing Star Wars, money losing Disney Plus. Then they're going to have to go borrow $9 to $12 billion to go get Hulu, to go buy out their stake in Hulu that they don't have. I don't know what they're. I don't. That to me is Woes is their financial plan. Woes. And this is a company that has consistently chosen to not reinvest in its parks. It thinks that these things are just going to keep picking out money. There's going to come a time. I mean, my kid, I asked my kid why. I had another talk with Max the other day, and I'm like, and he says, I said, who's your favorite Disney character? He says, well, which ones are there? And I'm like, well, I mean, between Goofy and Minnie and Mickey, he's like, I don't know. But it was, I don't know that he couldn't choose which were his favorite characters. It was more like, I don't even know which are the characters from which to choose.
I don't even care or who they are or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
It was that. Because,
okay, Boomer.
Exactly. It was like my 10-year-old Boomer Disney, all of the Disney characters.
No, this is a really good point, and I was thinking about
Jonas,
this with my
isn't
kids.
that shocking? You've got kids too, right?
Yeah. When we went to Disney, we had to tell them what they should be excited about. Oh, this is this movie. Yeah, you'll love it. You should watch the thing. When we were at Universal, my 3-year-old daughter was excited about meeting Bumblebee. I mean, she'll see a princess and she'll like it, but you know what? She was just as excited about Kitty Softpaws. She will lose her mind when Princess Peach is in front of her.
And this is where I've said that, yeah, they've mismanaged the Disney character brand. The closest they've had to anything was like certain little shorts and things here and there, but nothing out there that's really penetrated the market at all, at least in a way. Like, it's been since what? Mickey's Clubhouse has been the closest thing they had to a...
What did they do with Henson?
Nothing. They've
drove it
sat on
into
the
the
Muppets
ground.
and drove it into the ground. They still do
Well, that's
stuff from time to time, but
Well, that's
nothing
my
of
point.
value.
Henson
What-
should be up there with Mario Brothers.
Well, this I agree with you there. This goes to Pro's research and sources that talked about the toy industry, and the toy industry clearly knows where their bread is buttered, but they seem to be ignoring it. Star Wars, Marvel, and Disney all rely heavily on multi-generational bonds that are built by the parents getting their children to buy into it. Right now they're focusing on women and non-single women and non-reproducing males.
Yep.
And whatever they're doing right now, they better hope that somehow this community stays with them, because they've burnt the bridge with the breeders. And they've burnt the bridge with all the men who want to say, hey, Luke Skywalker was my hero as a kid. I can't get my kids to watch Star Wars. I don't understand.
That is the thing we hear the most, man. That is the thing we hear the most. Go ahead, Culture, and then we're going to get to this next super chat. Yeah.
Real quick. I mean, to that end, Kathleen Kennedy is on record saying she wanted to get rid of the 50-year-old plus audience.
Yep.
There goes your multi-generational interest in Star Wars.
Right. There's the biggest wallets too right now.
Well, it's the only wallets. Anyway, that's.
Well, Culture's not wrong. The only people who are really buying majority of these toys are adults.
Yeah, it's me. It's collectors.
It's clear.
Yeah, I mean, it's Tom. It's Mexican Iron Man.
And I don't buy Star Wars shit no more, and I don't really buy nothing Marvel either. So,
do you? By the way, I just looked over the financials for Disney and just looked at their PE ratio. Mike, did you know how high that is?
Oh yeah, it's way overstated. One of the things that I was most pissed off about the Comcast call is that if I were leading that Comcast call, I would have positioned it completely differently and gone after Disney, because Comcast, from an entertainment media standpoint, see, those guys are just a bunch of old cable heads that don't realize what they got. But what I would have done is I would have said that from our theme parks to our, if I were and then Comcast is trading at anywhere from what, 30 to $35 a share on any given day, usually.
It's kind of cheap.
Yeah, but it's undervalued, and Disney is overinflated
substantially. I mean, they're sitting at almost 52 in a PE ratio. Anything over 25 kids, according to financial.
I sucked at PE too, though.
Oh Jesus! Anything over 25 is not exactly bueno. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, why would you buy a stock that on any given day is in the case of Disney? Let's explain this to the folks watching at home. Your price to earnings ratio high. I want to buy your stock, but you know what? Instead of buying your earnings for $1 that I'm going to get $1 back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you $50 and hopefully get $1 back. Yeah. Jonas,
that's not how the force works.
No, I have to say here, I did some heavy study into the financials of the Disney company before the Fox merger, and they ran like clockwork. Everything was stable. Earnings per share was stable. Dividends were stable. Buying Pixar, they got John Lasseter and Ed Catmull, and that was a talent purchase that fixed the entire creative output of the company, other than Marvel. And obviously, they formerly had a lot of success with Marvel. They really messed up with Star Wars because they thought they could do it, and then you get Fox for 10 times the purchase price. I don't understand why they couldn't just leave it alone. People were excited about the MCU until they said, you can do anything with this. And then now you guys do realize they could do anything with this. And they
haven't done jack shit with Fox. Here's the funny part now in hindsight. They would have been better off dumping $15 million on Fox's lap and saying, just give us Star Wars and give us the Marvel stuff you got and we're good.
Yeah.
They would have been better off doing that in the long run than spending the money they have on Fox, because they have done jack shit with it, and Jack left town a long fucking time ago.
Or as I like to put it, they bought Fox an entire studio only to shut it down.
Yep.
Well, they have the Taika Waititi movie coming out, but guess what? It looks like nothing more than what they would have come out under some Disney banner.
Yeah, one
Like
freaking movie.
Watching
Yeah, they've got a few other things coming out, Deadpool and stuff like that here and there, but otherwise, majority of the stuff they've released under the 21st Century banner, or Fox Searchlight or whatever because I'm surprised they even have that. It's like Searchlight Pictures now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is just a few random things that were already done when they bought it. Otherwise, there's only been 4, 5 projects at most that have been greenlit since they bought it that have had that any of the old Fox monikers on them at all.
Just wait for them to ruin ESPN, and then that's it.
It's because they've remade Home Alone and some other shit too. That's what I'm getting at. Go ahead, Mikey. Sorry.
Watching Disney buy IPs is like watching them go to a scrapyard. I think the new theme song for Disney should go something like this: "Wonk wonk 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 wonk." It's like Disney is not the Walt Disney Company. It's the Sanford and Son IP junkyard. It's where IPs go to die. Whether it's the Muppets, whether it's Pixar, whether it's Star Wars, whether it's Marvel. They just should realize, I've said it over and over again, they need to just understand what kind of company they are. But Bob Iger's ego won't let him realize, hey, I'm a CEO of a theme park, cruise ship, and retail entertainment company, and I make merchandising royalties.
Yeah,
that's what I need to do. I need to run. Disney needs to be a company that has the best theme parks, the best cruise ships, the best hotel, and the most family-friendly entertainment on the planet. But no. I gotta go into the Hollywood thing, and that means that once you go into Hollywood entertainment, now he's got his woke ass people. I gotta go to the cocktail parties. He's got to be a studio head. He's trying to build this conglomerate, and conglomerates don't work. They just don't work.
And people are bringing up a few of the other Fox products, but yes, going to my point, they're all like Predator and other stuff that already exists. They're but notice they haven't done anything R-rated, right? Like we haven't got Speed 3, Ludicrous Speed, or anything like that yet. Like they haven't done anything with the R-rated anything until Deadpool. I think will be the first one. Sorry, Jonas, you were about to say.
No, you're fine. This is the last thing I think of when I think of Bob Iger. He is the handsome fellow who got out there and he's got one dance move that's really impressive, and he just keeps doing it, and everybody's getting tired of it. He can't buy anything else, and now he's being forced to buy out this remaining share of Hulu. And he has no moves left on the table other than naming his replacement. And right now, that's not looking so hot. There's nobody within the company
dumping all the entertainment over to Apple.
Yeah. Well, Dash Attack says, how about tricking people into thinking these shows were important to keeping up with the MCU and its master storytelling and continued continuity? Lies. Well, that's just it. All they're building off of crap that nobody wants anymore. Even if it wasn't for the fact that they're turning away the families, I mean, really, what do they have anymore that's worth building on? I mean, Marvel's pretty much done, to go off of what Paul was asking before. You want to know why the Muppets have struggled, Paul? It's because everybody who had anything to do with the Muppets that was still around, they have driven out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same
Frank
thing.
Oz himself said they don't want me around.
They've done that with every studio.
Yeah, and they did it with Pixar. I mean, you push out the genius of Lasseter for some baloney, trumped up, too much hugging thing, and you end up you end up with a dearth of creativity. But they've been that way for a long time. Imagineering, they shoved out all the super creative people. I mean, there's a ton of guys that should still be working there right now. They don't rely on the previous minds that were there. They're legendary minds like Tony Baxter and a few others. I mean, I don't want to go into all of the Imagineering history, but I'm just going to say but at every level of the company, they don't make anything new. They take somebody else's stuff and repurpose it. Disney has become, instead of a creative company, a repurposing company. So it's constant rehash garbage. And the reason, I'm still going to argue, the reason they make these live action remakes is so they can keep their story and they can keep their IP the way that they want it. Because none of these live action films add any value. And now the audience has figured that out.
The bottom line is that these purchases have killed Disney.
Yeah,
and I did a video on corporate culture in general and on all corporate buyout fronts.
Great video.
Thank you. And culture eats strategy. That's just the nature of the biz.
Stop it, culture.
And yeah, stop it. And the point is, Disney historically has always been an internally creatively run entity. It
Right.
really didn't know how to deal with these external entities that had their own creative,
That weren't their initial creations. Exactly.
They
Yeah.
just couldn't.
Even something
that
like
salad.
Muppets that should work in their lane, right? It didn't, because they drove out what few people were left of the Muppets, and they've been struggling with it ever since.
But Mike, listen, we almost got bought out. And one of the things that you learn is that it doesn't matter what promises the purchaser is making to you. They don't give a shit about your company.
No.
The president and everybody else really feels emotional only about their own company.
Right.
Because that's just human nature. This is how they built the company. They struggled. This is what they know. And even if you're good friends with the people who are purchasing you, they don't get you. That's just
well, and that's kind of what I was saying is, even
fail.
though creatively, even if you were to drive out all those people from Jim Henson Productions and people that have been attached to the Muppets, Disney on paper should have been able to handle them. That was my point, Paul.
Yeah.
But they weren't. They still snafu'd that whole thing.
Right, because it wasn't their company.
Yeah.
They didn't understand the zeitgeist of Henson. And yeah, I mean, really, to tell you the truth, only Jim Henson really understood it.
Well, there was some success after Henson. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from certain films, because they did have like Treasure Island and the Christmas Carol one that were very well received.
And Christmas Carol was brilliant.
I'll say the only thing affiliated with Disney at all would have been the Jason Segel project.
And then
actually, Disney distributed the Christmas Carol and the Treasure Island one as well. Actually, the only other one that was reproduced in that time period was Muppets from Space, and that was a rarity that Sony released for some reason. Right, and that's another one that some people do consider Muppet canon. But yeah,
and the Power Rangers property really
that was a whole nother snafu.
Let me finish. Proved to be a really sour pill, like just some giant creature swallowing a hero and then going, and barfing it back out, saying, "Okay, you can go."
Well, that didn't make no sense from the start, because Power Rangers and Disney do not go well together.
No, of course. But it was available to purchase, and they did it, and they didn't get it.
They sold it back for less than what they paid for it. But anyway, Bucky Cat says, if this shareholder suit holds, oh, the joys of discovery. Yes, as was pointed out here, this will be a field day for us, but not so much for Disney.
We also still haven't heard, in that same vein, we also still haven't heard the results of the suit that was filed back in December. Towards the end of December of last year, there was a records request, pursuit of records and books or something. I forget what the legal terminology is, but that suit, we still don't know what the result of that is, from another investor who's trying to do another end run. So we'll see how this goes. But there's a lot of people really unhappy with how their money's being spent.
Well, we'll get back to the rest of the super chats here shortly, but there is a news story that's been ripping up, and I've been getting messages about left and right. And we got to cover it before we lose anybody else here. Mercenaries. Whoa, we lost Mikey. See, I knew this was going to happen.
I got to go do a conference call. I'll be right back.
I know you do. I was just going to say, we're going to lose people anyway, so we have to get to this. Mercenary X21 sends in $5 and asks, trying to send this message, but YouTube keeps blocking it. A soap company is doing I think you mean something like a beer company just did. I sent it to your Twitter. Yes, and actually I was aware of this, and we're going to get into it right now. And Andre has not seen this yet. Now, this has been out for a couple of weeks now, but it just finally came up on everybody's radar.
Forward to it. This should be good.
Dove Soap has now joined the woke whack party, let's say.
Before we move on, I just want to say one thing about Dove to see how far a brand can fall. I remember back in the 90s when Baywatch was on TV. I remember I was in Norway, and I thought Baywatch was one of the most stupid things that there ever was. And the reason I thought it was so dumb is here you have these hot chicks in bathing suits, and they're running in slow motion in their bathing suits, and it's all this implied nudity and stuff like that. Cut to commercial break, and since this is Norway, we're gonna have full frontal nudity and stuff like that in the freaking commercial breaks, which are hotter than anything on Baywatch. And one of those companies that had like commercials with actual nudity was Dove. There were far more attractive women in those Dove commercials back in the 90s than were in Baywatch. And they were actually legit topless and everything like that as well, like actual nudity in the commercials. And then go back to like this thing with Baywatch stupidity, PG-13 bullcrap. So yeah, that was Dove. That's what I associate Dove with. So let's see.
That's American Puritan porn.
Yeah, exactly. So then we had like Dove commercials intercut with American Puritan porn. But I understand that Dove now has gone Puritan as well. So this should be good.
Well,
Now,
they are a Procter Gamble company, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
But we should preface this by saying they've done this particular commercial in partnership with Unreal Engine. So that's an interesting.
Oh, this is a fun one here, kids, because it goes beyond Dove and all the other crap. Because of course, that's the only reason we're covering it here. Is it doesn't have
There
any...
is so much to deconstruct here. Like,
Yes,
this is like there's so many things.
If just the soap was the only problem, we wouldn't be discussing this today. So let's just break into this business. So far, it's,
landing. Nope, didn't hit it with her sword. She zapped it.
Marketing agency's interpretation of video games.
Yes, that's right. What are they doing in a holograph environment? It's already 3D.
Oh, it still looks terrible.
Why the sad music? Oh,
That's not how the Force works.
I gotta get me one of those masks.
That's not how it works. You can't do that. But anyway,
Like she just ate the beast.
there's no way she could fit in that shit.
No, that's the point. It's metaphorical.
I know it's metaphorical, but it's still redonkulous.
Woo! Ass shot. Yeah, baby.
See, they went for the Instagram angle to make her look a little less fat on that one.
That's right. I'm not going back in. Oh, there you go.
74% of gamers see the lack of inclusivity in video game characters.
All 8 million.
We partnered with Unreal Engine and Women Game. Oh, Dove. Bro, let's make virtual beauty real. Let's change beauty.
And then this was modeled after a very attractive woman.
Again, that's not how the Force works, Dove.
I mean,
Like,
we
Let's
have
just point out that they didn't go for the.
Or wait,
actual
is that how the
hotness at
Force
beginning.
works? If they're forcing us to feel a certain way, I guess it
I'm like
is.
wondering, Doug, and did Alyssa Heidenscheid get a new job already?
So let me tell you, this is actually brilliant for one main reason is that women of this fortitude use up way more soap
Just for surface area.
just for surface area.
Oh,
This is all about selling way more soap. That's what I'm saying. This is brilliant.
you stole my joke, damn it.
You know,
I'm just faster than you on the draw.
if they
I
really
let you
wanted to
go
sell
first.
this,
That's my fault.
and they won't do it because of the current environment, but they didn't actually make that first woman actually hot.
No,
they
they
didn't.
didn't.
Yeah. And then in the end, when they make thick characters, they don't make them look like this. I don't understand why they would actually go for this image that no one wants to be. The whole thing is just misguided. And meanwhile, are they not also a chocolate brand?
It's a totally unrelated brand, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a different thing altogether. But still, the thing that I wonder is like how much is the demand for inclusivity? Like how many like fat girls demand to see themselves in video games? Or I can put it this, Tom. I don't want to get personal here, but have you ever, when you play like video games with turtles and stuff like that, or anything? Have you ever kind of like wanted them to look more like you? Would
Fuck
that
to the
make you-
no. I would take up most of the screen. No, and this is the same thing as the beer shit, right? Women don't want to see this shit, even if they look like this. This is the last thing they want staring back at them at a beauty product like this. They want this product to make them look more like the chick from the beginning. So then, in their eyes, this is just like the beer brands, right? This is the oldest thing in advertising, and this is from my advertising background. I can tell you, a hot chick will sell anything to anyone. End of discussion. Because women want to be her, and men will want to have her. That is the easiest way to sell any fucking product at the end of the day.
And I will also say that there's a different side to that coin, and that is a handsome, well-trained man who's really,
And you have that too, yes.
what have you, yeah, because then any man will want to be him, and any woman will want to have.
And that usually
have
goes
him
along
as
with
well.
luxury brands, though, Andre. That's the
Yeah.
difference, right?
That too.
Like beer brands, things like that.
So the funny thing is that
Yeah.
this is the fantasy. That's the irony.
At least they're trying to pretend that it is. And like, just to
And-
finish my previous point, just remember, like with He-Man, when he raises his power sword, what comes out is the ideal He-Man, not some schlub that you actually are and can hope to be.
Yeah. Sorry, go
And
ahead,
if it
Paul.
was, I don't think that He-Man would ever have been like a popular thing.
I mean, talk to X-Ray Girl, talk to who's our favorite gal, who the Canadian who's living in Mexico,
Nina.
Nina. I mean, talk to any of them.
Carolyn,
I'm pretty
I
sure
mean-
they don't want any of this shit.
Yeah, Carolyn would be, who's comes on this panel regularly. Yeah, I mean, she'd probably react the same way. I mean, you've got Lorena Creel, any lady I know who plays games. I can't expect them believing any of this baloney sausage. And again,
Go back to the stat. What was it? 74%.
74% of bullshit of 8 people they asked that work for them. Probably.
Right. Want a more. So what was the exact wording of that stat? Are you able to roll that back there?
Oh, that'd be good. There you go.
What's the stat?
There it is.
74%
This is some
of female
Gamergate shit.
gamers see a lack of inclusivity in video game characters.
Yeah, which 74%? Who did
Right.
you ask?
Is this
What's
Anita
what's
This is
Sarkeesian's,
clearly some Gamergate shit, exactly.
This
Yeah.
is Gamergate shit. Like,
Yep.
I would love to know where they got
Yeah.
the pool of people to ask this. Female gamers, or is it women who think about have an idea of what their dude
Actually,
is doing when they're gaming? They're
I
pissed
call
off
kind
that-
of bullshit on this. Most of them like sexy, hot female characters because somebody corrected me on a percentile. I don't remember the exact number, but they either prefer sexy females, and then there's a 10 or 12 percentile that prefers to actually play as men.
I actually oftentimes will play a female character.
me
And I was going to say the other side of
Sure.
it was like over 50% of male players actually play as female.
And
characters,
also,
yeah.
if you play multiple times, I've played Mass Effect, both
Male and
Shepherd,
female
male and
Shepherd, yeah.
female, and also Skyrim. Like,
Yeah.
what's the big deal? So
I'm bored by Mailship, and I don't want to look like Paul Walker. I much prefer the Femship, and it's voiced by Jennifer Hale, which, my goodness, that voice, amazing.
Well, and the romance options are more interesting.
It all depends on the game for me, really, right? Like, it depends. Like, if I'm going in and I want to play, like, Tomb Raider, well, of course, I expect to see Lara Croft, or something like that. But in certain other games, it doesn't matter. You can create your own character. That's the beauty of it. So what is the point of this? Right? Unless you're talking about an IP-driven thing, in even like GTA and other things like that, people are creating their own characters now online.
Mm-hmm.
well, not just
I'm
that.
sure that within the next 2 games, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the next one's going to be created characters for the game. But I guarantee you, by GTA 8, the whole gist of that one is going to be creating your own character, all online play, and from here on out, it's all going to be GTA Online updates online.
And in Uncharted, there's a really good kind of protagonist antagonist hunter of relic hunter, who's British. I can't remember what her name is in the game, but she was really well-rounded character. Very, very interesting. I mean, it was like, okay, why? What was wrong with that character in Uncharted? It was extremely well done. And then she had her own video game afterwards. She had her own adventure.
And Griffin is making the point that I was trying to make here. Basically, let's change beauty. Actual beauty needs to be destroyed, is what they're trying to say with this.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And Jonas, let's give you your final thoughts on your way out the door, and then we'll jump back to Andre and whoever else has more to say about this. Yeah.
Well, as I say on my series, which I'll plug myself at the same time, because that's part of saying goodbye.
Please do. We like that kind of self-love on this channel.
Aren't we diverse and inclusive here? Everything Woke is my series on my channel, and I go through content and point out all the stuff they're putting in kids content that maybe parents might have a problem with. But and if anybody asks me what the standard is, it's generally Maoism, but Maoism isn't a marketable term, so I say woke. But the destruction of beauty is something that keeps coming up. And this stuff right here, where they try to tell you, don't try to be the ideal person, just stay in your home, get fat, be addicted to pornography, do drugs, drink alcohol, and consume product. That's what I see when I see a commercial like this. I get it. We all need to be comfortable in the bodies we're in, but we also need to strive to be a better person. And I look at this and I see something against that. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go hit the gym so I don't end up looking like this lady over here.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I guarantee you that Lizzo was not a hunter-gatherer.
Oh, I saw some chick just tear Lizzo apart the other day. Because I think was she recently the Grammys or whatever she won, and she's like, we need to change the systematic racism so people have more opportunities. And she like stops the video and she's like, okay, so you're talking about you who grew up in Detroit without a father and later lost her mother and has gained and all this acclaim and is a musician and went through all this adversity herself. You know, you yourself found it was, achievable in this supposed system. What is wrong with this system then? Because you're worth $12 million or whatever it was that she said. Like, I don't understand what your issue is here.
It was just in Star Wars. That is a thing that most.
Well, it's the thing is, it's funny. The whole point of the whole point of what she was getting to is basically the people that are crying about systematic racism or oppression and all this shit are the people who have the most.
Well, I mean, there's this really good clip. I don't know where it is, where a guy was interviewing an individual person of color, a girl, and she just kept on going on racism, and the guy went, "You're attending fucking Harvard, girl." Like, where's the racism?
Exactly. That's kind of the whole point that lady was raising too. And that goes right along with these beauty standards too. Yeah, right. Like most women know they're not going to be able to achieve the beauty standards of the models that are in most of these things. But again, it helps aspire them to be that. That goes off of what Andre was saying before earlier too, with the whole thing with He-Man and men in certain products when they use, a dashing, when they have George Clooney or one of these guys, promoting certain items. That's the whole point of that.
It inspires you to do better. Right. I mean that in the non-SJW sense, but like good for you, Jordan Peterson sense. It inspires you to physically and mentally do better, to get to a better place than where you are.
That's the real do better right there. That's the real do better.
I think this message, this ad is actually showing you got to slather up in Dove soap to be able to fit into the better outfit.
Do you have stock in Dove or something, Paul? Because
just saying, being positive.
Wow,
you're selling it, man. No, just.
And the other thing too is, as anyone who's gamed, they're going to look at that initial exchange between your gaming character and that evil thing. You're going, okay, this is stupid.
Yep.
This is dumb. Like, it looks stupid right from the word go. It looks illegitimate.
Well, we do have to let Jonas get out of here, but yes.
Thank you, everybody, for having me. Man, it is always a pleasure. I could go on for hours. This is one of the funnest things I get to do.
This is great.
Yeah.
Well, we love having you. Take care.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jonas.
Check out Jonas's channel. And Culture, you were about to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just want to add something real quick. And not only is Chato a Procter and Gamble shill, he also understands that since they tanked Gillette in its value, they're now sweeping into Dove to tank it in its value. So,
Well, and of course they turned off the
comments. Yeah, 'cause
comments, and
everything
I can't
destroyed.
imagine how bad it's getting ratioed right now as well,
Yeah.
as far as like to dislike.
Yeah, we need to know, and this is what's been happening, obviously, with AB InBev, but I think Molson Coors is about to experience the same thing. People are going to look at all the other things that you make, finally, and start to look at how to change your mind as a whole. The problem is there are only 13 different brands globally that actually show up in most major department stores, or, you know, obviously grocery stores or drugstores. There's not a lot of options, but
Yeah, that is the issue.
yeah.
But Andre, since this is your first time seeing it, why don't you take us and dovetail us into some super chats while you're at it?
Yeah, let's do that. The final thing I want to say about this is that this is obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? Demoralization. This is demoralization of society at a very high level. There's ESG money behind this and everything. This is not done out of virtue. This is not done, well, maybe like the individual people are executing it think that they're doing something good for humanity and they're being inclusive and all that bull crap. But in reality, this is made to destroy. This is made to demotivate. And I hope that people will be able to see through that, not fall for it, and not buy anything from Dove or the parent company.
Right, and I have to correct myself. The parent company, Big Daddy MRI pointed out, and it is true. It's not Procter and Gamble. So I always want to fix when I say something wrong.
Oh, it's not anymore.
It's Unilever.
Yeah,
oh,
Unilever.
okay. Oh, okay. Well,
so
correction.
It's
Thank you.
Unilever products, but this is kind of like the challenge that okay, because then if you for most people that are in the store and they see, oh, there's this thing here from this brand, I don't want that because that's they did this horrible thing. I don't want Dove anymore. And then say, okay, I'm going to get this other thing that's right next to it, and that's another Unilever thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you saw that with the Bud Light situation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And if you decide, well, screw those people, I'm gonna go with something from this third brand that isn't Unilever. Well, now you're back to Procter and Gamble and the whole Gillette thing.
Well, this is the problem with everything, isn't it, Andre? It's like 3 major companies or 4 major companies own everything.
7.
Exactly.
So apparently, I've seen a mapping of it where 7 companies
You're probably not
own
wrong, yeah.
pretty much everything in the world.
Yeah, between Nestle, Disney, and everything, you're not wrong. Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. And because they're all like offshoots of offshoots of offshoots, and they all bought each other up, and it's all crazy.
Each of these are separate financial divisions, and
supposedly, yeah.
No, they are.
Yeah, I know. I'm being sarcastic.
They're divided up, and I would imagine that if these divisions are hurting badly, the parent company notices. Like I think can't remember, Ben and Jerry's is a Unilever company now. I can't remember, but when Ben and Jerry's got into trouble with its position on Israel, it got back, and there were some changes that were made to Ben and Jerry's. That was, I mean, it does work on a item by item basis. I don't think you can go through Procter and Gamble and decide, wow, I'm going to now boycott everything that Procter and Gamble does.
It's almost impossible. And it's the same thing. Like when people were bringing up the whole boycott Disney, it's like, and I do as best as I can, but I mean, it's like Disney has their, Mickey's mittens and everything. So they're much like, Procter and Gamble and or Unilever or ConAgra Foods is another one, Nestle, and some of these other companies that just own tons and tons of shit,
pet food and everything. Yeah, but you've got especially Nestle. Nestle owns pet food companies, but look, to that end, AB InBev lost $11 billion in market cap, and they've also been essentially have a brand that's now essentially destroyed. They're going to try to advertise their way out of that, but they may have to rebrand. and it's going to be incredibly costly. And will they make that mistake again? Probably.
Yeah,
But
they're bringing out a line of camo beer.
well, all I know is that if they continue to go down this road as a larger company, they're going to be just eating into their bottom line continually and not delivering shareholder value. If you
Right.
get punished on that level by leaning into the ESG stuff many times, maybe you end up in a class action lawsuit. I don't know.
Well,
Let's see
and
what
on the
happens.
ESG note, going off of the video we recently did, Andre, and here's where you can pick it up again and go back into super chats here. Like, yeah, I think that's the bigger thing is a lot of times these companies are already in trouble when they do these stupid moves. That's been the norm, isn't it? Like their sales are already down when they decide to do this stupid shit.
Not necessarily, no. Not
Well,
necessarily.
Bud Light's sales were down. It seemed like before
Yeah,
they were.
So they say. So they say.
That's what
They
I'm
say
saying. So
they
like
were
all
down.
these, well, at least okay. So according to most of them, then the only one I can't say offhand would maybe be Gillette, but I know
Yeah.
Harry's razors and some of these other things were cutting into some of their sales at that time. I
They
guarantee
were
it.
cutting into, but they were still the biggest on the planet, bar none. So
Well,
same
yeah,
thing
and you
like
make
Bud
that
Light.
point in your video, actually. So yeah.
So I don't. I think that's just a convenient excuse. It has not, because again, that would assume that this is something that is driven from a market need to change and refresh it, and it never is. Like for instance, Dove did not need to increase their sales
No.
by going woke, and
No, you're right.
at women. They did
And
not
that's kind of
need
more what I
to
was
do
getting
that.
at. Yeah, they didn't really need to do it in the first place. And then, yeah, if they were hurting in their sales, this is a bad move, was I guess my other side of it.
They will
Dove
be
did
hurting in their sales now.
Yeah.
Dove did a nice job many years ago. They were famous for it by including more people, more women of diverse sizes. And it was
I would-
very well received.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine.
And I was going to
That's
say, I
what
don't
this
think
is.
anybody would have had a problem with that. I think the reason we're talking about it today, and I think that the problem is going to arise from, is the attaching it to video games, the Gamergate situation.
But they're
this
preaching here. They
changing,
weren't-
exactly, the changing
weren't
of beauty,
preaching-
right?
They weren't preaching in the other ad. All they were saying is that we were selective in who it is that we included in our ads. That's wrong because many different people use Dove. Okay, that's completely legit. This, like, I really would like to know where that 74% came from.
It's bullshit, Fugazi.
Oh, for sure. I think so too.
Well, and that's the thing, is we've started to see diversity in advertising in other places for the last 20, 25 years. It's not new. And that's the part that makes me scratch my head. It's the whole last part that we were just talking about, Paul, that bothers me. And that is this idea that they need to change things. And that kind of goes to Mr.
But there is no
Tickletrunk's super chat
diversity.
here.
You'll never see a statistic that 74% of women who drive RVs like, these kinds of games. Like just survey RV owners.
Well, I wasn't even talking about the game part of it. I was just talking about in advertising. We've seen, people who aren't always necessarily what you would consider traditionally good looking or whatever, these spokesmen and other things that have been a little bit more diverse. Like, this is not new.
But
right?
Inclusivity does not mean you suddenly remove housewives from
exactly
your imagery. Aren't there housewives left? Yeah, sure. We don't need the housewives who are going over to their friend Betty and going, my gosh, how come you get your white so much whiter than me? Like, we get it. That revolution is done.
That's my point I was getting at, is based, or to a roundabout way, is like they used to have both. Now we're at the expense of.
No, you can't have you can't have housewives.
And then Mr. Tickletrunk says biology dictates us liking a specific range of not too big or small, healthy looking people. And again, it does go down to personal taste, but for the general public, there's an idea of what healthy looking is. Yes.
Right.
Beauty is mostly based in biology. Only details are cultural.
But this Dove ad is telling us that it's not good to be able to aspire to the thin version of that gamer, of that game character. That was bad. We need to have largish women wielding blades in video games. And they tried something similar to that in Mass Effect 4 Andromeda, and it sucked balls. It was dreadful. It was the ugliest women I've ever seen in a video game. And guess what? It didn't sell.
Yeah. And then STR Red Wolf says, does this to correct us? Thank you so much. We're sorry we didn't get to this till now, but Dove Soap is owned by Unilever, which owns Ben and Jerry's ice cream, among other stuff. Ugh. Yeah.
There you go. That's the challenge, as we were discussing.
Yeah. And Mr. Tickle Trunk says, representation is a scam only narcissists care. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
To a big point, yeah.
Marcus Moeller says, guys, please Google obese druid Diablo 4. Okay, we'll have to check that out here as we're moving along here. Obese druid Diablo 4.
Now, maybe Dove's plan was not to attract gaming women at all, but just to confirm to the general Dove user who thinks that this is gaming, and this ad will look extremely realistic to them, the women who don't game, that yes, like my wife.
I think you're giving them too much credit there.
I'm just grasping at straws, Andre.
That's what you have to do, because they don't do this for any kind of market need at all. Like, this is all about getting their ESG points in.
That's what I see here too.
Yeah.
Because normally this is from the Diablo game, or Druid Diablo 4. That's what this is. This is a druid. Yeah.
I can see a person like this.
I don't have a problem with this. This looks.
I have no problem with that at all. As an NPC background character, no problem at all.
No. But if she was kick-ass and used that extra avoir d'appui to beat up on people or creatures or things, I'm all for that. I don't have a problem.
Yeah, but I hope that the level design doesn't require her doing much climbing or anything like physically exhausting. Because if you're gonna do this real, then you should have like the character like run 50 meters and they have to stop for a breather before they carry on walking.
Yeah. Dira says the game model was more attractive than the person. Well, I mean, that was kind of the point of the thing, but I don't think they see the irony in it.
And I think they made the boobs a little bit bigger on purpose.
Yeah,
probably.
I think that was also something that they did.
And then Mario Trillo says, Jonas left us already, but Jonas, to quote the old Proud Family, sex sells and ugly repels. Thanks for the entertainment, guys. Surgery went well, but I'm homebound for the week. Well,
we're so glad to hear that, Mario.
Yeah.
So glad that it went well.
Hopefully you end up
try
quickly.
not to laugh.
That's
yeah,
right.
I hope. Well, Paul and I have been on fire today, so I'm sorry. No, we've probably been pretty horrible today. The Dearest says also, Wally was a warning, not a goal. Yes, this is true. Then Waltman says, main reason why Kotaku's failing pushing Gamergate. Oh, yeah.
Kotaku, yes.
Kotaku, oh, yeah, that thing.
Yeah,
See,
they're
I'm
not
not much of a gamer person, yeah.
Yeah,
No, they're gone, aren't they?
They're about to be, though. They're headed the same way as Vice Media and many other things. Digital media is having real big problems, and the ad tech issues are going to drive them out of business. So
the sooner the better.
But speaking of laughing at our jokes, at least Maverick says he laughed at yours today, Paul. So
thank you very much.
Yeah. And then Adam says the concept of beauty has always been derived from being healthy, promoting, or even celebrating unhealthy looks or lifestyle is just unnational and irrational. Yeah, and coming from somebody who's a fat kid, I mean, if people just accepted me for what I was, it would be unhealthy. I agree with that 100%. Not only that, it would be detrimental, I think, at the end of the day to my overall mental health. Now, again, I don't need to be ribbed or called names or bitched at constantly, but sometimes I do need that motivation. But most of my friends are very supportive and they want me to be healthy and they drive me to be more healthy. And in that, I should want to be more like somebody who's like a George Clooney or whatever, like we were talking about earlier.
I just want to add to that. First, Adam, thank you for the 2,000 Hungarian florins. But also, Tom, it's actually worse than that because, like you always had people wanting you to be more healthy out of like pure love and concern. Imagine if they were all like, yeah, this is amazing. So how stunning and brave. More
That's
of that.
the problem. Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh yeah, well, I can add 10 more pounds. And they're like, oh wow, good on you. I can add 10 more pounds.
But
you wouldn't be
I
here
kind of
today
had
if
that
that's
over
already gone.
COVID, and it wasn't like anybody really doing that so much, but I could see where that could overall, at the end of the day, have an effect on me. At first, I'd be like, oh, I'm glad I'm being supported. But I would think that the people that are supporting me, wouldn't they rather want me around longer? Because that's the thing is I've run
Exactly.
into so many health issues, more so now because of COVID's crap and being stuffed inside.
I think
and all
I
that
think
kind of
there's a
stuff.
concept of healthy, and the model skinniness is not a vision of health.
But more so than some alternatives which are being pushed.
So the thing is, Cara Dune, what's her name?
Gina Carano.
Gina Carano. I mean, I thought she was the vision of health. I thought she was able to carry herself in that show.
No, and there's a lot of people who agree with you in that respect, and that hasn't been a problem.
I would say that I find what's more objectionable are all those 5'2", 90-pound women on police shows that seem to be able to handle 300-pound men with alacrity. That, that's not necessarily a good thing either. So, I mean, we are dealing with Hollywood. We are dealing with extremes all the time. And there is healthy. I don't think the woman in this Dove ad, I mean, that's not an unhealthy shape. I didn't think she was particularly obese. That she looked like an awful lot of women, but the idea that women want to play someone who looks like that in video games, that's the question, and I don't believe that's true.
No, they're looking. Look, everybody plays the video games looking for a fantasy. Sorry.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's nobody's fantasy to be that. Sorry. I mean, if it is, there's some internal. You need to look inside.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, I'm flabbergasted. That there aren't more people pushing back about this. Clearly, the super chats are doing that, but that it's not more public because it doesn't ring with what they want to do. They want your lives to be shorter. They want you on a lot of medication. They want you in these unhealthy states, telling you that they're healthy. No, I don't want to take 6 pills a day so I don't die. Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm asking you, the woman, the real quote unquote, the gamer in that video, do you believe that her shape was unhealthy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because of the abdomen shape and because it leads down into the other extremities.
Okay.
Yeah. She
and that's the other thing, Paul, is they're not showing a real natural, even though they claim and pretend they are. Look at that actual photo of the real chick at the end compared to the photo of what they used her in the video game. There was some finagling around to make her look a little bit hotter than she really is. They still do that. They still kind of try and shape them up a little bit more to where it's like, that's not what she naturally looks like.
If that was the model they used to construct the video game woman, who I actually didn't find unappealing. Honestly, I wouldn't play her in a video game. But as a human being, I don't find her unappealing. Maybe you now know my type. But
you tell me that they didn't use her for a model, right?
No, they did. I'm saying.
I mean, clearly, and like I said, look at her paunch compared to and I'm not trying to be rude, but like it is, they clearly slimmed her down.
I think the model is unbelievably unappealing.
It's unappealing, but they also, like I said, they did accentuate it to try and make it more appealing than she really is on top of it all. And I'm not trying to put that woman down either. I'm just saying it's clear. So to me, it's still going against what they're even fucking trying to do in the first place.
So this is a lie on multiple levels, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I can see that.
Yeah, you're not only you're going against the exact thing you're trying to fucking promote at the end of the day.
Just look at the difference in her arm size.
Exactly, everything is off proportion.
Okay, yeah. If they were going to make this truthful, then she should be 1-to-1.
I agree.
Yeah,
and that's not what they did here. They tried to make her more attractive than she really is. At the end of the day, that's really what it was.
Interestingly, that is the best point in this entire discussion.
But yeah, so
and it's yours, Tom.
Wow,
thank you so much, Paul. That's a first.
I noticed that Tom did not push back on all the fancy words that you were using.
I kept my mouth shut most of the time.
All right, because you tell me all the time to stop using college.
Well,
words.
that's just because you.
Oh, great, thanks.
I was gone for 38 minutes. We have tons of super chats.
We're getting there, Mike.
And I don't know why Tom has. Why is Tom on my screen and why is he wearing lipstick?
Oh, I have less hair than that, sir.
Whoa, Oh, that's the best comment of the day. Okay, you just won. You just won Midnight's Edge. That was it, Mike.
Even Valiant's like, they even slimmed down her fupa. Well, I didn't want to say that. Now you did. So James S says, what do you rate the chances of ever seeing a movement to make unattractive fat men into super studs in the public eye? Never, because I've been pushing for it for years. I've been waiting for my moment to shine.
There have been in comedic video games.
Yeah, I'm being sarcastic, but yeah.
Actually, I think that that's so stupid that it just might be next. It's same kind of thing with like first you go for like the latest beauty standards, then you go for the men. You have already promoted that men cannot be chivalrous, they cannot be brave, they have to be quiet, bent down, hunched, and apologetic.
I disagree, Andre.
Next is pushing for them being fat and obese.
I disagree wholeheartedly, because here's why. All these women that look like that chick in that ad, they are allowed to say, I want a man who's 6'7", built.
Oh yeah, good point.
Dark.
Good point.
6 figures.
All these things, 6 figures, da 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 da. But if I were to say
6 inches in the groin.
Exactly, yeah, or bigger actually, Mike. And if I were to say though, I want a chick who's, looks exactly like Sir Mix-a-Lot describes, and I like big butts, and was specific about what I want, I would be called all the misogynistic words in the book.
Yeah. This is a very good point. I take it back.
No matter what I look like. And there's no fucking way a guy can ever shame any woman into fucking dating her, because then it would be creepy. See, that's the thing, is it's already going against natural gender roles, right? Like, I hate to say it, but that's just normal. Like, it's a world of Pepe Le Pews. We all gotta keep trying. That's the way the men work. Some just don't get the hint sometimes, like Pepe Le Pew, right? But that's just the natural order of things. Women naturally are not that aggressive to where they generally go after a guy in a sense to where they're upfront about it. They do things to try and make him notice her. Men are just kind of blunt about it usually.
Yeah.
Right?
But
that's the big difference.
We are
running low on time.
Here.
So yes.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here, Paul. We appreciate it.
That was fun.
Thank you, Chato.
I'm glad I could dive in onto this dove thing, because I thought that was hilarious.
I know, it was something.
Yeah, it certainly was. Well, listen, lovely seeing all of you. It's been great, and hopefully see you on Friday. Is it
Sounds
Wednesday?
good.
Today? Yes. I can't remember.
I hope you stick with us.
I will.
And this just in: Pepe Le Pew was last seen in prison serving a 5-year sentence for stalking. Stalking.
I just want to say that
that's your spirit animal, Mikey. No.
Dude, Pepe Le Pew, between James T. Kirk and Pepe Le Pew, almost all of my dating strategies came from James T. Kirk and Pepe Le Pew. Literally, like
what
those
about
two...
the wounded wing technique? That's neither.
That's a complete and total scam.
Sometimes it works, Andre. You should try it. Well, you're married now, but
yeah.
my only successful dating technique was pretty much every girl I dated, none of them could cook. I could. That was the only thing that made me attractive.
Oh yeah, I'm Iron Chef in the kitchen.
That's
myself.
your niche.
I've never met a woman that can outcook me. I'm like Iron Chef in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. I was actually pretty shocked at how few of the girls I
A man should at least know his way around a grill, that's for sure.
Everyone should learn how to cook. They should bring home ec back in schools.
They should. I don't disagree with that.
Shit,
yeah,
woke shit, and get people to eat healthy. Learn to cook from even if you don't worry about all the organic shit in stores. If you just stop eating in restaurants and packaged food and just make your own food, you are going to be 1,000% healthy.
Don't eat processed.
Yeah, don't eat
so much better.
Yeah, and just make your own. It's not hard. It is not hard, kids, which is why they need to bring home ec back in schools and bring back add financial literacy.
That too.
And get rid of this woke stuff. But I got a video coming up on that.
Awesome.
So I will talk to you later, everyone.
Thank you for thank you for stopping in.
Hi, everyone. So good.
Take care.
Take care. All right. We had, I think, one or two more that had to do with this, and then we'll go back to the top. I remember correctly. Let's see here. Pilgrim Media says, can Madison Avenue sell Santa with a 7% BMI? I don't know.
No, that would be a very skinny Santa.
Yeah. Eat, Santa, eat. And then Mercenary X21 says, Razorfist says, get broke, go woke, go more broke. Yeah. Well, that seems to be some of their, they get the SG money, and that's where we're, we had our video there, and Mecha J points out here, ESG is a scam. At the end of the day, it kind of is.
It's
worse than that. It's worse than that.
Yeah. If it was a scam, it would be like one thing, but unfortunately, it's a racket, and that's far worse.
Yeah. And then Whiff says, hail to the great and powerful Midnight's Edge. Well, thank you. What's your first thought?
Yeah.
Then Ram Bam 3000's in the house says, Andre, have you ever heard of Wardruna? A Norwegian band who essentially do song fic about Norse mythology.
I have. Not only have I heard about them, I'm a big fan. I love their music, and I've seen them live in concert at least 2 times, I think.
Yeah. Well, if they're Norwegian, then that means you got to say it like, Wardruna.
Vardruna, yeah.
Vardruna.
That was, Tom, I'm amazed. That was amazing. And that's like one of the best Norwegian accents.
Well, it's because you got to mean that shit.
Yeah.
It's like German too. The same thing. You just got to get behind it. Like you're pissed about everything.
Yeah.
You're just, even when you're not talking about shit you're pissed about.
Yeah. Oh,
I got that. That runs in my Germanic side of my family big time. Anyway, Zephyr says, how do you think the Barbie movie will do? I think it's going to do very well. I think it's going to do a lot better than some people think it will. Culture?
Yeah.
I think it'll do better than I thought it would originally. I think it'll be profitable. Unfortunately, it could be rather large box office for this film. And again, it's targeted a huge audience. I mean, everything pink, everybody that's in love with the pink stuff is going to be all over this thing. Like I said, I've changed my opinion on it. I think they may have nailed it.
Yeah, we should all be grateful that this isn't the version of the movie that was going to have Amy Schumer, because for a while there they were developing the movie with Amy Schumer. We did a video on it. Check it out. Just go into the search bar and look for Midnight's Edge Barbie, oldie but goodie classic video. One of the Sony hack videos. So yeah,
Mikey,
it's a fun one.
Yes.
How do you think the Barbie movie is going to do?
Well, given the fact that I'm a Margot Robbie fan, and given the fact that Barbie is right up my alley, I may go see it 7 times.
Have you seen Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh yeah.
I figured.
Yeah, one scene more than the rest of the movie, I'm sure.
Well, I shouldn't say this on the morning show. I'll keep my mouth shut. The opening scene. Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you probably relate to that movie more than we want to know.
That movie describes a good 8-9 years of my life.
Oh shit!
Easy.
So
easy.
I love that movie. That's one of my favorite Scorsese films. I was surprised by it. It was a good one. But from now on, when I watch it, I'll think of you. Callum Lyle says, "Is it bad that I want to buy that Evil Lynn figure in the Bat Horakoth outfit as much as I hated the series? I like that figure and costume." No, some of the designs from that show were great.
Oh, absolutely.
The show was just ass.
Smashing. Yeah.
And then latest news, did you hear that the live action Evil Lynn is going to be doing a voice on the new season?
I did, and it's just going to be 5. Meg Foster will be will be returning, and it's just going to be 5 episodes in total, apparently.
Is she going to be playing Evil Lynn's mom or what?
I don't know which character. I don't know that they reveal the character.
I wonder. But yeah, no, it's Callum. Hey, you do you, boo. The Walt Man says Haunted Mansion trailer was decent, all things considered. Only meh moment was the cop drawing of one of the ghosts. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't comment. But yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see how it works out for them. They need this. This is one of their few original IPs anymore. But they haven't had much success to this date. Seth is here and he sends in $10. Says new DC comic Clark and Lex race swaps the Kents. Uh-oh. I ain't even mad because why not? Black Kansas farmers in the 1930s fighting a super baby has lots of potential.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just
They're just gonna go one step further and have him like be raised by slaves next, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
just so they can really hit home.
No matter what they do, it's going to and result in increased sales for Ethan Van Sciver. So carry on, I guess.
Tennille says, "What a contrast! I saw Winter Soldier. I'd never seen a single Marvel movie, and didn't matter one iota. Compare that to now. Oh dear. Yes, this is interesting, yes. Tennille. I brought this up several times where I think Marvel has shown us you can only go so far with this shared universe concept before it kind of suffers under falling under the weight of itself, at least when it comes to this many characters and this many events and this many things going on. Because as Andre likes to point out constantly, they keep forgetting that there's half a person sticking out of Earth, for instance.
Yeah. I will say, though, that the only thing they really need to do is they don't need to reboot the whole universe, but they just has to make it so that some events are in the past and just carry on with new stories and give ever new entry points. That's all they have to do, and that's where they dropped the ball so tremendously badly in Phase 4, especially with the whole Disney Plus strategy, which meant that now you have homework for the movies. That's where they really screwed themselves.
Yep.
Just carry on like the Winter Soldier, and they could do it forever.
And I had a post recently I made off the idea of, you know, all this stuff that goes on in Star Wars and Marvel where you basically have to do all this homework to know what the hell's going on anymore. And there was a time when that wasn't the case. Expanded material just expanded upon. It wasn't required homework. I mean, even Alien Covenant and stuff like that was basically guilty of this same kind of thing. It shouldn't be that way. At least the Guardians trilogy stands on its own in a way. You got like the couple of scenes in there that explain everything you need to know that brings you up to speed. Yeah, it's kind of cheap, but at the same time, what else are you going to do? But, you know, it's proved that the Guardians films have a bit of a different audience. I'm not the only one who has said this at this point, and I think this last weekend proved that. We'll see how it plays out for him going up against Fast and the Furious, but yeah, so the critics don't seem to be liking the new Fast and Furious movie, but those movies are pretty much critic proof, so.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how they wage out in the box office here going on. But
I will be seeing the new Fast film on tomorrow. So there you go.
Okay. Jesus Davila sends us a super sticker. Let me see if I can see what it is. I think it's a thumbs up. It is. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Then we've got Unlimited Power, who says, do you think we will ever get an animated Pokemon movie like Super Mario Brothers or Detective Pikachu, the last movie? Oh, no, I think we will definitely get some proper Pokemon material at some point here. It makes complete sense. I think the next logical move would be probably a CGI animated film in the vein of Mario Brothers. What do you guys think? Because Pokemon, I'm not a Pokemon fan, but I know it's a massive franchise for the company that owns it. And Nintendo has
you'll get plenty more animated Pokemon movies. I mean, there's too much money in it. They're so cheap to make. Of course, there will be more.
Yeah, but as far as like a bigger kind of movie like Detective Pikachu was, not in that respect, but I think more along the lines of Mario Brothers. Is that what you guys think too, Mikey Culture?
I have no comment because I don't like Pokemon and don't know crap about it.
I think you'll probably get a Pokemon film, but it's not going to be targeted at all ages. I think it'll be targeted at a younger audience.
All right. Well, yeah, of course it'll be like basically like the old animated Pokemon movies and such, but it'll be probably just CGI animated is what I was getting at.
I think you will get a CGI thing, but it's going to be low quality. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Perverted Jester says, some days Midnight's Edge sounds like the People's Front, LOL. I'm not sure.
It's the People's Front. Is that like the new right-wing movement in the States, which is made entirely out of feds?
I have no idea.
Or is it those people in
no idea.
Life
That's
of
the
Brian?
Patriot Front. That's the Patriot Front. Completely.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
Oh,
People's
okay,
Front
right.
is may refer to the political organizations, All Russian People's Front. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
What we
I
said
think it's
to
like one of those groups in
or
Life
the
of
Life of
Brian.
Brian. Yeah, there's a Monty Python. Okay, I just saw the thing here. Okay, yeah, kind of. Some days.
I think they were the ones who were like, "What have the Romans ever done for us?"
Yes. Well, roads. Yeah, roads. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just important.
You know what? You know what's wonderful about that scene? Because isn't that the one at the end of it where Eric Idle's like, "I want to be a woman."
Well, that's actually the beginning of the movie.
Well, I think that's the same scene though, where they're bitching about it, and then at the end of it, he's like, "I want to be a woman." He's like, "What?"
Oh
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Yes."
that's real. I was thinking of like the setup to it.
Yeah, he's like, "Sometimes I wear women's clothing." You do what? I think that's the same. Yeah, the Judea's People's Front. Yes.
But moving on.
Yeah, sorry, we'll get too lost in the weeds on Monty Python. Boyunola says, off topic, read rumor that Cumberbatch was going to star in Star Wars movie directed by Favreau. Have you seen or heard anything about this? What are the odds of this ever happening? None. This is the first I heard about it, though.
Yeah, where have you read that rumor? This is completely new to me, and I would not put much stock in that rumor. It would be amazing if suddenly, if that were to happen, if in the next few weeks here we learned that all that stuff that Kathleen Kennedy has announced, none of that is happening, but we're getting this instead. That would mean that Star Wars was saved. But I would not.
I'm not seeing anything.
I would not. I would not hold my breath waiting for that announcement.
No. Perverted Jest. Oh, we got this one already. Sorry. Then here we are. House Atreides, who says, in regards to Netflix, can you explain when it looked like they were going on a good path? Then they came out with something bonehead like Cleopatra. Does Netflix have a woke and non-woke division? No. Well, yes and no. No, it's all woke. But here's the thing. Was it Biaselli or whatever? Who's the guy who's over there at the head of Netflix? What's his name?
Well, there's several divisions.
There is, but like they will continue to have different kind of programming, but no, they have not gone away from the woke at all. And we'll have more to say on this very soon.
Well, we have a video that I think we may be dropping. I was thinking of dropping it in half an hour, actually.
Yeah, as soon as we're done here, it's going to be some big Conan news coming up, kids.
Big Conan news that have to do with Netflix.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
It also has to
talk more about it on Friday.
It also determines whether or not how they buy the content and who's producing it and whether or not they're funding it or not. I mean, the Terminal List was a fluke, but Netflix didn't have anything to do with the writing, production. I mean, they just essentially just, with Amazon on, all these Amazon and Netflix, these companies, you got to differentiate between whether it's Amazon, Netflix, or whatnot. What are they producing and creating themselves? Rings of Power, that kind of stuff. What are they greenlighting that they're actually funding, producing, and or writing? And that's why we get such weird shit on both Netflix and on Amazon.
Indeed. And then we got Keely Chow, who says, sci-fi for me raid, LFTB raid. Well, thank you so much, guys. We appreciate that. We got Valentine's Tube, who says, drinking my prep tonight for colonoscopy. Oh, no. Will still be better than Disney Star Wars. You're not wrong. Also, I'm not, well, unless you get bad news. Also, I'm not WGA. I'm writing my own show, Ready to Work. Well, there you go. There's that possibility. Go ahead and produce it independently, because that's about the best thing you can do there, buddy. And hopefully your colonoscopy goes well. Sorry to hear about that, Valentine's Tube. Jonathan Prizois, if I'm saying that right, says, can you guys give me an update on the Black Widow lawsuit? Is it done? Does anyone even know? Yes, it's done. They settled out of court.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long after that fact. They settled out of court, but
long time ago.
End of last year, I think it was.
So basically, Chapek, he made that go away.
Yep. Jesus Davila says, Tom, completely random, but apparently they just announced they're putting Nicolas Cage in Dead by Daylight. Oh, okay. I suppose to promote with Five Nights at Freddy's or whatever, or something like that, I suppose. Or are they putting him in as Dracula? That'd be bitching.
That'd be awesome.
Because I haven't played Dead by Daylight in a while, but that game got addictive for a minute. You ever played that, Andre?
No, not at all.
Basically, it's a game where you ever played the Friday the 13th game?
Nope.
Okay. But you're a killer, and you've got a bunch of other players who are trying to stay alive for a
I like it so far.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fun. You get to be, there's all kinds of killers you can pick from, and you can buy new ones and stuff. They got Freddy, they got Jason, they got, Ghostface, they got Leatherface, they've got all of them. So yeah, I don't know who they would be adding as Nicolas Cage unless it'd be one of those two, but yeah. Ash is in there. So you can be Ash as a good guy. So there's a few good characters in there. They got, it's kind of neat. But anyway. We've got Waddle-Dee's Nuts, who says, also for Epic Universe, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a Shrek section. Don't they already?
They have a massive area for Shrek. I'm not sure what they're planning to do. I know they're rehabbing the illumination area for the Minions. I thought the plan was to convert. Oh man, I wish Jonas was here. I thought the plan was to convert that entire front entry area to Minions. I'm not sure if that takes out the Shrek attraction or not. Would it surprise me if they ended up with the Shrek section over there at Epic Universe? Nope. None of it's going to surprise me. The doors are wide open for Universal to steal market share. So that's the answer I have for you.
But yeah, I'm sure they'll do some stuff with Shrek even more so. Interior Navore says, Disney's plan is hoping my generation keeps making bad financial plans and spending money on garbage while not growing up and staying at child status. People have replaced personality with being a fan. You're not wrong. And part of this goes into the whole conversation about lifestyle brands and stuff like that is too much to get into right here. But that's the thing, is Disney is basically living off of their lifestyle brand fans, or the Disnerds, or whatever moniker they want to go by. And same thing for the other franchises they have, Marvel, Star Wars. And basically all they have left is these fans who will buy anything and buy into it with the hopes or they're just, in cognitive dissonance or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But yeah, these are not being passed down to new generations at all. And Mikey can be one of the first people to tell you that.
Yep.
And same thing probably with Andre, who has a kid who's a girl who actually is kind of the prime, Disney princess age too, almost. So yeah.
Yeah, and Frozen is popular, but beyond that, of new stuff they have going, they're struggling with the kids. I'll just say that.
Not good. Has your kid even brought up Little Mermaid or anything at all? Aware of it at all?
No. But wouldn't be aware of it in Norway this far out unless he really checks this stuff out.
Okay.
Because it's here, new movies are never promoted more 2-3 weeks before they premiere, ever.
Well, that's the way they're supposed to be here. At least not, a little bit more than that, but yeah, they've adhered to that a little bit now, but not quite that much. Marcus Squitness says, happy, okay, you're gonna have to do this, Andre.
Yeah, because
Sittende Mai Andre?
Because he says happy 17 Mai Andre, which is happy 17th of May, or rather happy Constitution Day, because this is our 4th of July. Grab your accordion, reach for the butter, sugar and cinnamon, gorge on some lefse and party hard. And then Mike, lefse is essentially a Norwegian tortilla. You'd love it.
Well, apparently there's lots of stuff that I would like from Norway, including that, wasn't that taco pizza, Andre?
Yeah,
And
I'll
ladies.
make sure to the pizza grandiosa with taco, nacho titty. You've seen the commercials. You have a few varieties of them.
Did you just say nacho titties?
Not nacho. No, you may have heard it, but I didn't see it.
He did. He said nacho titty. Yeah.
But yeah, no, we have a bunch of different nacho, taco, pizzas, and what have you. So yeah.
Now I just want some nachos on titties. Sure. Hey, that's a good business idea, Mike.
Hey, do you want me to make the emoji for that so that we can have that in the chat?
Not yet. We'll see if it
okay.
sticks around.
All right.
Sure, you can want if you want to, but we'll see if it sticks around. Shirogami says, "Look at my acquisitions. He mighty in despair." Yeah. They have pretty much bought themselves out of business at this point. Robert says, "Imagine ugly models in cologne and perfume ads." LOL. Yeah, not likely to have too many of those, but it sounds like Johnny Depp is going to be promoting a new cologne. And he got a 7-minute standing ovation at Cannes.
He did, yeah. Isn't he still going to stick with Sauvage? Isn't that who he's been promoting? Forever?
Maybe that's who it is.
Yeah.
He got a new deal with him or whatever.
Maybe a new campaign. Yeah, good timing.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, his film was received so positively. I'm actually going to try to see it. So
he said he doesn't really need Hollywood anymore.
Nope.
I'm kind of done with that thing. Hollywood, don't need it. Mario Trillo says, "Coming from a pro cook, eating healthy is more becoming expensive and harder." Yes, by the year. The food has less nutrients. Yes, because of mass farming and people working long hours. Don't even have time to cook. Yes, yes, and yes. And everything is being... This is part of the problem. And again, and this is me not making excuses for my fat ass, but this is part of the problem. And everything is unnatural in a lot of the shit we do eat. They've replaced almost all natural sugars with like corn syrups, for instance, and things of that sort. So yeah, this is the toughest part about eating is it's expensive to eat healthy, but I'm trying. So
yeah,
but,
and not only is it expensive, it's difficult because
it is.
You basically have to do your own cooking. Like you just have to buy the resources and then prepare the food yourself. And
that's kind of another problem is the time. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like unbelievable with like the process, like they injecting toxins into the food.
They really are. And I mean, it's even like my parents will gripe on me about drinking soda, like diet sodas and stuff. It's like, why? I'm pumping just as many chemicals or worse chemicals in me.
Worse
than in most cases than the other stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sugar isn't good for you, but it's better than some of that
aspartame or some shit. Yeah. Valentine's Tube also sent. Oh, go ahead, Mikey.
Newsflash, Tom, though, donuts still aren't healthy. Continue on.
Oh, but what if they're freshly made?
No.
Oh, they got to be better.
And if I was your roommate, you would. I would be throwing away the shit you ordered. I'd be in front of the driveway, and the Pizza Hut guy would come up for a delivery.
Dude,
give it to me, and then I
eat like a 12-year-old, man. So yes, you probably would.
Anyway, that's topic for another stream. Continue on.
Valentine's Tube says it's Nintendo versus Sega in film, and I'm a Sega fan. Well, I don't think in film Sega would ever have a chance, and I don't think it ever will have a chance, but it doesn't matter. They're successful doing what Sega does.
Exactly.
And Nintendo don't.
Yeah, they don't have to be number one. It's perfectly fine that they are number two and in the market. And I'm a Sega boy through and through. And I'm much more excited about like any Sega movie than the Nintendo. But the fact of the matter is that Nintendo is going to have the larger 4-quadrant appeal, but Sega can make the more compelling movies for the fans. They just have to be budgeted accordingly. Very excited for Streets of Rage from Lionsgate. I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think so. And Jim Watari just gifted 5 Midnight's Edge memberships. Thank you so much, Jim Watari. Or 10, I'm sorry, 10 memberships. Holy crap. I need to learn how to count. Sean Carter says, looks like Disney, Dove, Bud Light, Miller Lite, and Netflix profits are going out the window. Faster than Mexican Iron Man. Oh.
Aha. I see what you did there.
I think that's really funny.
He says he'll see himself out. That was actually pretty funny, actually.
He
deserves this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean. That was pretty funny. James S. says we mostly the West has achieved something difficult historically. Our poor people are fat and our rich people are skinny. Well, they're healthy. That's the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is indeed the difference, because there's fat and there's fat. And it's why you have it. Like if you have fat because you don't have any alternatives, because eating healthy is difficult, expensive, and time consuming. Well, that's what we have right now, basically. Whereas before it was slightly different situation.
And with that, I believe we are caught up. Let me double check back at the mod group. It looks like we're good.
All right, very cool.
Well, with that, I want to say check out Retro Blasting if you haven't already. That's Michael's channel over there. He does great work, especially with the toy business stuff. So check that out. We also had Paul Chato on here today. Call me Chato. Do check out Legal Mindset, even though he didn't make it today. I'm sure he'll be back again real soon to talk more law stuff. But luckily, we had our Mexican Iron Man to help us out, and Culture Casino as well. So Mikey, the YouTuber,
I'm not a lawyer, and
YouTubers.
I don't play one on TV. But if I'm at the bar,
You do play a YouTuber on YouTube, though.
No.
Tell us what you got coming up.
I don't know. I just got back into town. I'm not sure. But
Mead tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Thursday, 6 o'clock Central.
Okay.
Oh wait, tonight's Wednesday. Doomcock. Yeah, I'm supposed to. Yeah, Doomcock.
Yeah.
I'm
And then Valentine's Tube send us $2. It says Sega's routine story isn't over. We will see. Well, that's what I meant. Sega can do what Nintendo don't. But I don't expect them to ever make the kind of money that Mario Brothers made. At the same time, I'm a realist in that respect. But that's the beauty of it. And that's what I said before, is that Sega can do more adult-oriented stuff that Nintendo won't touch with a 10-foot pole. So, yeah. So they have that going for them. So we'll have to see. And yes, this video will be dropping soon, so park up there, kids. Abdulio says, I recommend Boss Level. A man is at the end of his rope, finding himself stuck in a time loop, repeating from the same point every time he dies. So it's basically Groundhog's Day, or like that
Boss
Tom Cruise
Level,
movie.
huh? Okay. Oh, I have to check that out.
Check
Thanks
that
for
out.
the
Yeah.
recommendation.
Edge of Tomorrow, right?
Or Edge of Tomorrow, yep. That's
Which
what I was
was
thinking.
renamed to that from Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah. Then they still slap that all over the cover of it, even though it's still Edge
Yeah,
of
and then they
Tomorrow.
practically renamed it back again
Yeah.
afterwards, because that
Didn't
was,
they do even like a re-release under that name or something? It still didn't work out.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. I mean, for a cruise project, it was already bizarre, and it got more bizarre. So.
And then Valentine's Tube says, no franchise is beyond being beat financially. No, you're not wrong. But at the same time, I just don't see anything Sega has competing with the likes of Mario Brothers at this point. It's just the way it is. We live in a world where Mario is more recognized than Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse, and probably even Superman.
Right. Crazy. And
Sonic, very popular, but not nearly on the same level as Mario. And that's probably the biggest thing Sega has.
Sega.
We'll have to wait and see. I hope they do well, though. So with that, let's park up for some Conan news. Check out Culture Casino's channel. What you got coming up?
Well, the daily, and I think I've got a new video coming out either later today or tomorrow that dives into the streaming situation. Because I did one yesterday about basically hitting the reset button, and now I'm diving into some real numbers that people are going to get to enjoy, and I'm going to wrap up that series with who the biggest streamer actually is. So it'll be a series of 3 when I'm done. So check it out. It'll be on the channel. But tomorrow's the 6-minute daily. A lot of fun. Yeah, lots of fun. Today I boomered it up, so you can enjoy my fumble today if you want to go and watch it. It was funny. That's it.
Sorry, I'm being connected with a certified debt consultant.
Oh, well, fantastic.
I just hung up.
Meanwhile, I just want to say thank you for
Yeah.
joining us, Culture. It's a pleasure to have you on, as always. So glad that you were able to be here. Today this long, since we're 3.5 hours in now.
Yeah.
And 15 minutes till we have Conan video dropping. It's going to be premiering, so link for that is already it was here momentarily. I'm sure you'll find it again. And Valentine's Tube says real Conan equals not German or Hawaiian. Well, casting is not done yet, but I believe the intention is to is to do a real Conan, which would actually be Scottish. If you were to get a Scotsman to play Conan, that would actually be the closest.
So like Highlander?
Highlander type.
And now I want to see Highlander versus Conan.
Literally is a Highlander.
Now I want to see them two fight.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
There can be only one. Well, it's going to be me because you are a girly man. So there you go. Park up for that. And then we got Abdulio who says, being hunted constantly, he doesn't know how or why. We pick up the story after hundreds of deaths, almost losing. He begins to uncover the why of his situation. Well, thank you, Abdulio, for the breakdown. And then I think you just got this one, right?
Yeah, just got that one.
Yeah. So with that, I believe we are caught up then finally again.
Yeah. And for those that wonder about Star Trek news, yeah, we do have some, but at 3.5 hours in, we'll delay them for later.
Yeah, it's just more of the same shit, more or less. But we've got updates, more so.
It's nothing earth-shattering, so we'll get back to it in a separate.
No, and a lot of it's stuff you guys are not going to want to hear about. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you like Star Trek, you're not going to like these news.
Yeah, kind of sucks. Yeah, we've already talked a little bit about Star Trek 4 before. That's still supposedly happening. Section 31 is still supposedly happening. But we'll get on that some more topics later. Basically, we kind of have more of an idea of why Kurtzman's not going anywhere too, somewhat. But we'll get back to that in due course, right, Andre? Yeah.
Yep. We will.
And with that,
as he says.
Yes, and with that, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
I gotta find the button.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas.